Coming to you live from the Hellmouth West. It's the Popular Cinema Podcast. I'm your co-host, Payne.
I'm Bill. It's Hellmouth adjacent. That's where you are now. Hellmouth adjacent.
I don't know. That sounds like a mouthful. I don't know if I can say it. I can say all of that.
Okay.
I think my woman was telling me that I need to work on my fading in and out of the theme music.
Yeah, that's something that probably could use a little work.
I
Sometimes it's
believe that.
a little bit abrupt.
Yeah, I believe that's the least of our concerns.
Oh, sure, but I'm just saying.
Hey, Bill, it's almost been a month since we've been doing the show. We've been getting some text messages from Melissa going, where the hell's her episode? Because she's world traveling yet again.
Wait, I thought we were only gone for 2 weeks. Didn't we? Weren't we?
No, I think we were supposed to do one on Memorial Day weekend, but we were too busy watching Solo.
Right. Okay, so we're like a week late, basically. So 3
Yeah, I
weeks.
guess it's about 3 weeks.
Okay.
But the last time we did this was like May 13th. So, I mean,
It was May 12th. May 13th was a Monday. No, you're right. I can't read a calendar, so what the fuck do I know?
yeah. I mean, people are thriving for our content. You know what I watched on Memorial Day, Bill?
Something about fallen soldiers that made us, free and sacrifice their lives for us.
Yeah, I watched 12 Strong with your boy Chris Hemsworth, aka Thor, about the horse soldiers in like Afghanistan after 9/11. It was
there
very good.
shirtless scenes in it of Chris Hemsworth's upper body strength?
No, because they're bullets, actual real bullets flying over them, and I don't think them wearing some sort of tank top out there in the desert is
It's hot
the
as
best
hell.
thing.
I'm sure they do wear tank tops, and I mean, I'm sure they have to shower, right? They didn't have a shower scene.
Right.
Why do I want to see this movie?
Only on logo are they running around in a war movie just wearing like t-shirts.
I'm sorry, but Chris Hemsworth has it written into his contracts that there is one unnecessary shirtless scene in every movie. It's just to please his gay fans, of which he knows there are legion.
Did you notice that in every like type of like family movie, I think also when Peter Berg directs films, whenever you're dealing with like the everyday man, just to let you know he's an everyday man, they always have him get up in the morning, he comes down, and he always has a daughter that's eating like cereal, and then he comes over and rubs her head and says, "Hey, I'll fix your lunch and take you to school." And then he gives his wife a kiss, and she says, "You better be careful." And he's like, "Well, you better be careful because you're looking hot." And then she giggles, hee hee hee, and then he goes off. And that's how it always starts off. That's like the Americana scene. That's how you know you're in an all-American film.
I don't know.
So
If you notice these patterns, I think maybe you've seen too many films, but I don't know. I haven't
too
noticed
many,
this.
too many films. You act like that's a problem, Bill. I like to think this is the way it is nowadays. You're the
Well,
one
you know what? If you again, if we can't cover this subject again because we've done this 1,000 times, but I'll just give you the Reader's Digest for the fans condensed version. If you were a rounded film fan, now listen, I'm not throwing stones at your glass house because I'm certainly not, but I will say I'm not. Whereas you are under some delusion that you are some kind of like multi uh, film connoisseur and you don't watch anything that isn't on the Netflix queue. So if you were like Bill, I've seen the classics from like the 20s to the 90s on into the the thousands, then I'd be like, okay, gotcha. But as it is, you watch a bunch of crap that's at the top of a Netflix queue, and then you want to go, these movies suck. No shit, really. Have you ever seen anything that was made before like 1984? Well, no, but I mean, there was a whole industry before that. I understand, but that's black and white and okay.
Bill, if I started watching movies from 19, let's say 85, that's like 15, that's like 30 years of film watching I've done. You have to see patterns in that time. I should be giving some sort of credit for having watched in 30 years of film.
You know what? I'd probably give you more credit for the early part of your film uh, fanaticism. Like when we used to walk to the fucking video store up on Belmont Avenue to get VHS tapes to watch, because at least then it wasn't some shit that you just pulled off the list of like the top things that are released this week. So
Oh, no, you had to be sure about that. Like I guess
yeah,
that's like kind of like only having a dollar. You better make sure you get something that you really want. You better
yeah,
not you're not
yeah.
taking risks. You're not taking risks from
And
walking all
this
the
is why I think this is also why your uh, film oeuvre, if you will, is sort of like you get frustrated because it's so easy for you to just touch a button and order a disc or download something onto your Netflix that it becomes like old hat or old habit. It's not special or unique. It's just a touch of a button. So you lose maybe a little bit of like, I don't know, the thrill at the ease of the way you get and digest things now.
Yeah, well, America's fat and lazy, Bill. Everything's very easy for us now.
Oh yeah, I'm fat. I'm the epitome of fat and lazy motherfucker. You know what I did this weekend? I don't think I've moved from that chair twice since Friday. But but I have turned over several times, but I'm still just saying. And by the way, this has nothing to do with anything about anything, but you and your girl have got me now downloading the TLC Go app onto my Roku. Not that I watch Dr. Pimple Popper, mind you, but that Trading Spaces, I had a marathon from hell all weekend on that. I'm in it. I'm into it. I'm back in. They sucked me back in.
What, the new ones?
Yeah, the new ones. I watched all of them back to back.
Wow.
I know. It's some because see, I can't watch scripted TV shows like that. Like we don't binge like Jessica Jones because I'd probably fall asleep after episode 2. But I'll binge the fuck out of some stupid mindless Trading Spaces bullshit.
I'm going to tell her that you're back on the TLC thing. Maybe you could
Yeah.
come over and we could watch a little bit of 600-Pound Life, maybe a
No.
little.
We're not doing that because that show gives me nightmares.
How about Little People Big World? Little People Big World?
I saw there was a lot of commercials for that show. Is that the one where the little girl or the short lady and the short guy had a farm and their family? Okay, yeah. How do I say this to be politically correct?
Don't. You're gonna get us into Roseanne territory if you say something about the little people.
I don't know. I'll just skip it. But it's fascinating, but not in a good way for me with those two.
So what's the deal with you and Trading Spaces? Why would you watch that back to back? Is there something about like
if you like Star? I don't know. I wasn't super feeling great, as you know, this weekend, and I was just like, I didn't really want to watch a bunch of scripted stuff and have to pay attention. I just wanted to have my mind melt out of my head with the amount of exertion it had to put forth to see something. So I just started watching one, and then the next thing you know, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll watch this next one, then the next one, and then before you know it, it's like I've seen all 9 episodes. What the fuck?
Who's your favorite decorator so far?
I really like that blonde lady. Oh, I didn't even know her name. Genevieve.
Okay, is she the one that's always very bubbly?
Yeah, I think she's a lesbo.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
She's like a lipstick lesbo. Wow, I'm really going for it. But yeah, I like her. I don't like the cocky ones, the ones that are like, here's some straw and some hay, and you stick it on your wall because I'm an artiste, and don't question my artiste skills. And by the way, here's your homework where you have to thread put a million pieces of yarn on a pegboard.
Isn't it interesting that they make the people this is not something they're doing for your home. This is for your neighbor's house, and then you're giving me homework, and you want me to stay up hours past midnight to do some bullshit string together some beads, and then hammer out some yarn and learn how to sew. I would be a little bit okay, I know I have to make nice for the show, but I'd be feeling a certain way about that.
Yeah, I'm sure they do feel a certain way about it, but I think they have to agree to this shit in order to be on the show. That's when they're do you agree to the rules or whatever? I think they sort of have to know what they're going to get when they go in.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some of them I like because they actually take into account people's requests. I don't like the color brown or whatever. And then I think some of them do it just to get controversy going on the show. If you tell them you don't like something, they specifically put it in the room on purpose. I think it's asshole-ish of some of them, but
I'm trying to figure out, we were just already this morning trying to figure out how to decorate the guest bath. We figured that might be something to easily do. It's a small enough area that maybe we could try to figure out as opposed to tackling something big like a living room or whatever else like that.
Right.
Anyway, Bill.
Are you going to call a decorator, or what did you decide to do about that?
Oh yeah, I still got to do that too. There's just not enough hours in the day. Just so busy. Just so busy. You know, it might be better for us to be retired. I think hitting the lottery and being retired seems the best option for everybody involved.
Well, short of that, how about we just retire?
I like that.
I mean, just plain old retire.
Right now I'm in the studio. I brought down Chris's office chair
Hmm.
and like I'm sitting with my legs up on the desk and leaning back. I feel like I'm sort of like king of the world right now.
Right. Like, this is how it's meant to be. Like the other day, okay, so I have a thing about air conditioning, right? And you saw the air conditioner unit that my husband put in the wall for me because I demand it to be a certain temperature and the whole house has to be like frosty and he walks around with his nipples with icicles on him. So
Okay.
so he gets a little upset at me when I crank the shit down to like 62. No, it's really like 68. But anyway, so the other day it was like 90 something degrees outside and so I cranked it up. It was like I did like a temperature thing with your phone. They have like, indoor temperature thermometers. It was like 61 degrees in my room. I was like, it's like a refrigerator walking in here. It's like when you stick your head in the freezer when you're like super hot. It's like, oh, it's lovely. That's the night I called you because I was feeling bad that day. And then I cranked down that air conditioner and pulled out a DVD and I was like, well, Blu-ray, but I was like, this is the way I'm supposed to live every day.
It's like what is it? The polar caps or penguins walking around in your room? I mean,
Yeah, it's actually like there's like snow forming in the corners of my DVD
do
shelf.
you wear like some sort of like do you have the covers over your head? I mean, what do you?
No, but I do have the blanket up like over my over my shoulders and like I am covered up because it's frosty. But I mean, it's frosty in one of those like it feels great frosty ways. Like not like it's so cold in here I can't stand it, but like I just feel like oh, I just love it. I don't know how people survive without air conditioning. I really don't.
I feel like your room is like some sort of time capsule. Like they seal up everything to make sure it ever like the seeds of life. We just put some seeds in here, Bill. Keep it nice and cold just in case there's the end of the world thing.
No, it's one of those cryo freeze chambers where you go in and like you can only stay in there for 30 seconds before you get like hypothermia. You could freeze like lobster tails and shrimp in my room. So anyway,
All right, so we got some Netflix since you mentioned Netflix.
yeah.
So I see that Netflix has inked a deal with the boy Barack and Michelle Obama.
Yeah, I don't know what it's for though. Is it for a show or a movie?
No, they're doing. Apparently, it's for like a serious thing. It's like I think it's scripted, unscripted, docu series, whatever it is. They've got them to do some stuff. I think like they paid. I saw an article that Netflix paid Shonda Rhimes 100 million, and your boy Ryan Murphy like 300 million for whatever they do. But we don't know how much they're paying the Obamas to do essentially what Shonda and Ryan are going to do.
Are you going to watch his new show that comes on starts tonight? I think at 9 on FX.
What is that?
It's called Pose, and it's about. Have you ever seen a documentary about the 80s drag ball scene in New York City called Paris is Burning? It's very famous amongst the gay community.
I'm out. I'm so out.
How are you out? You watch
No,
all that
no,
shit.
no. I haven't heard of it. So go ahead.
Okay, anyway, it's a scripted series that takes place in that era in the 80s New York City about the drag. Do you know what a drag ball is?
No, I do not.
Okay. A drag ball is how do I explain this? It's like a runway fashion show for ghetto gay people, basically. Okay, and people go to these. They have these houses. They're called like there's like the House of Chanel and the House of Mizrahi, like all of these couture fashion houses where they're named after fashion designers, and they have these houses in which these like little cliques of like gay people who specialize in dressing up like really fancy or dressing up like I don't know, women, whatever. And they do like voguing and they sort of walk down a runway and it's sort of like a fashion show for not a lot of people with a lot of money. And especially for gay people. I don't know. Anyway, it's called a drag ball. It's like a scene, it's like a thing. And anyway, it's kind of like a big subculture in New York. It was really big in the 80s. That's where Madonna got Vogue from. Because that's what that style of dance that they do there is called. Anyway, they made a documentary about this particular scene. It's on Netflix. You should really watch it. It's called Paris is Burning. And it's really fascinating because I didn't know anything about the drag ball scene until I saw this movie. But it's one of those like, do you ever see Grey Gardens?
No.
Okay, okay. Again, you're just okay. So
Have you seen Brokeback?
what's that?
Brokeback Mountain?
Not familiar.
Oh, right. Okay.
Are you going to watch Love, Simon? By the way, is it on your queue?
Yeah, it is in my queue.
Would you let me know how it is? Because
Sure.
I hear there's, it's a happy ending gay movie, which is not allowed usually. So, I'd like to maybe see that. But
Sure.
anyway,
I'll let you
so
know.
this
Go
show
ahead.
Pose is starting tonight on FX, and it's a Ryan Murphy show, and it's about 80s gay New York. So I'm totally into it. So
Now that I think about it, I haven't been getting my Entertainment Weekly since I moved.
meanwhile, under a bridge, there's a pile of mail marked Jerome Payne.
That's exactly what they're doing now. But anyway, so I haven't heard of Pose, which makes me, I
Watch
kind
the
of
trailer.
travel around. I kind of want to travel around the internet, so it makes me think it's some sort of like obscure niche thing that I don't know. Is
Well,
it just
it's got
how many episodes are there?
I don't know, probably 10 or 13. I don't know. I mean, it just starts tonight, so tonight's the first episode.
So is it a documentary?
You know what it is? No, it's a scripted show. It is a show that it's the show that has I think they said it's employed the most transsexual people in the history of any movie or television production yet. So most of the actors in the lead roles and stuff are all trans. So.
I don't know, Bill. This seems like one of those things like, do I want to see guys dressed up as women walking down the stage, like trying to dance? I mean,
I don't know.
I wouldn't watch something dealing with fashion shows. So why would I watch this one then?
You never watched Project Runway?
I did. Is that the one where they design the clothes and then they have them walk down?
Yes.
Yeah, I liked Project Runway, but that's because I like the designers as they're trying to create something. I don't watch it because I want to see the girls walk down the runway, though. I want to see exactly how they came up with the design. It's sort of the reason why I watch Ink Master, because I like to see the people be creative. But I don't necessarily. Go ahead.
To me, it looks like what I wanted the Get Down to be, and it looks like the Get Down only in an era that looks actually interesting to me than some 70s Afro wearing, bell bottom wearing people. So I don't know. I'm gonna give it a try, and with most other Ryan Murphy shows, they come out of the gate like gangbusters, and then people sort of like get over them. So we'll see. But
okay.
anyway,
all right.
We haven't talked anything about movies yet, so we probably need to get on top.
Well, we're talking about it. Are you going to be boycotting Netflix since the Obamas are coming to going to be getting some of their own shows on there?
Really? I happen to really like the Obamas, and I really miss the Obamas. So yeah, I'm not going to boycott, and I probably will at least try whatever it is they're going to come up with. So
apparently, there's an article out there that's saying some people are like very upset and that they're getting rid of some of their Netflix subscriptions because Obama's Netflix is becoming too liberal since they hired the Obamas to do some scripted shows.
Well, I mean, that's America; they can do what they want, but. Personally,
I can't say that if somehow if like Donald Trump got some scripted shows on Netflix,
that you wouldn't have a problem with it.
I don't. Well, I wouldn't watch his show, but I don't think I'd be getting rid of Netflix. I mean, like why would I get rid of Netflix?
Some people are more, politically passionate than you.
Okay. I mean, what if the Obamas like started? What if they bought stock in Chipotle? Would you stop going to Chipotle?
No, because I like the Obamas. Now, if Trump were to fucking change the name to Trumpolte, I might have a problem.
I mean, isn't there something with Chick-fil-A and the gays? Don't they dislike the gays? Is that what Chick-fil-A does?
Let me tell you something about Chick-fil-A and the gays. I mean, here's the thing. At the end of the day, those damn chicken nuggets are fucking tasty. So unless they're stringing people up or like, basically saying no fags allowed when they open their restaurants, it's going to take a lot to get me not to eat those nuggets.
Send a picture of myself in front of Chick-fil-A, actually, with you eating them after.
Really? I mean, I'm just saying. Those are
This
some
shit's
damn good
good.
chicken nuggets. That's right.
I mean, Chipotle would have to really do something very foul for me to stop eating there. I mean, really
Would it,
foul.
would it be like, I don't know, food poisoning thousands of people? Would that be the thing that would do it?
No, that hasn't stopped me. That just sends me there to be like, oh, that location must have been dirty. That can't be all the locations.
Really? Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't just one location. I'm pretty sure they had to shut the whole fucking place down, disinfect, and reopen the store.
Bill, I only caught food poisoning once from Chipotle in my years.
I mean, seriously?
Just
Do you
once.
not? You never worry about that because, like, I mean, people actually died. I think, Jay.
Yeah. You know what? That's not what's going to kill me, Bill. There'll be a lot of things that'll kill me. It might be the police. It might be Donald Trump. It might be other things. It won't be Chipotle, which I'm getting tonight because it's Westworld night tonight. Westworld.
Really? Okay.
Very excited about that. You know, I always find that's a comfort for me. Like, do you have like a Sunday night routine? Like for me, it's kind of like watching a show and having Chipotle before I start the work week. Like that's a good way for me to ease in onto a Monday, is watching a movie or a show and having Chipotle. That's what I like my Sunday nights to be.
I spend Sunday night trying to stay up as late as possible so I can prolong the death knell of marching into work on Monday morning as long as I possibly can. That's my routine.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You try to stay up as late as possible?
Yeah. I'm trying to get every fucking hour I can squeeze out of my weekend. Yes. That's what I do.
All right.
And Sunday mornings, I get up bright and early. Saturdays are for sleeping in. Sundays are like, let's make this day last, bitches. Let's roll.
All right, Bill. Let's do some quick hitters. Some quick hitters. Margot Kidder died. Thoughts?
Um, I think she was the definition of Lois Lane for an entire generation of people. I think she, will be remembered fondly for that role. And, I hope, that she's at peace now. She had a tumultuous, difficult life. I think I compare her, as far as like her public trials and tribulations to probably Carrie Fisher. They sort of maybe had parallel, experiences in some ways. So yeah, I mean, I hope that I hope she's at rest.
Did we ever run into her at a comic book convention?
She was at one that we were at. We did not. She was doing autographs, and we did not buy like a what do you call it, autograph photo or whatever. But we did. We were like within feet of her.
Did you ever buy an autograph? Yeah, it sucks to lose Margot Kidder. I thought she was a quintessential Lois Lane for me.
Yeah.
I thought she played the role. I thought she was very sassy, and yeah, I
So
think
now, I
she's
mean,
she's
you watch the movie, and both of the leads are dead. It's kind of.
say that again.
I mean, now when I go back and watch Superman the movie, I mean, I don't know. It's just both of the people in the leads in that movie are now gone.
Yeah,
It's
Bill.
gonna happen to everybody, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, technically, when I think of Margot Kidder, I think she was sort of like, I want to say almost on equal levels as Christopher Reeve. Like she had a like a shine, like a bright light.
How dare you?
What do you mean? I think it was sort of
I'm just
equal.
messing with you. I mean, she was good, but I mean, Christopher Reeve. I mean, he is Superman. Okay, she is
Well,
Lois Lane.
well, it looks like we have people in the studio, Bill.
We do.
We have more Flecklers. You know, we got a part of the
By the
sisterhood
way,
coming in.
please apologize to your Fleckler for the fact that I have been mispronouncing her name for 2 years because I never knew how to pronounce it.
How were you
I did.
pronounced?
I was pronouncing it Fletchler
Oh, okay.
because that's how it's spelled, and I sounded it out phonetically. There is a TCH in there, right?
Yeah, whatever. Okay. Anyway,
So, anyway.
So, by the way, also, I think did you hear that Breaking Bad it comes back on August 6th of 2018?
I'm sorry. Is
Better
in
Call Saul. Better Call Saul.
I was gonna say Breaking Bad. Isn't that like done?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Not that I care, but you do, right?
You're not into that show?
I've never seen the first show that it was spun off from, so why would I watch the spin-off?
Okay. Well, I'm Superfan Melissa's going to be she's going to like
Yeah,
that.
millions of people
She's
are
going to
gonna
like
like
that.
it. That's cool. Um,
I'm very excited for that in terms of having a show like that come back. Is there a show that you're waiting to come back over the next 2 to 3 months?
no, I want to say no. There's really nothing on TV at the moment that we watch that I
Is there
am
anything in the
completely
fall
in love
season
with.
coming up? I mean, I feel like some of your TV shows that you've been watching have sort of,
Petered out.
um,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, well, they have. I mean, I'm looking forward to Luke Cage at the end of this month. But we're still stuck in like mid-season of Jessica Jones, so I don't know if we're gonna make it to get those finished before the season of Luke Cage starts.
Do you
So,
see that there's some sort of pattern out there for you, like in terms of like you and Chris had a lot of shows that you were watching,
mhm.
and now you don't have as many as you had, like say like 5 years ago. Like maybe you had like 6 or 7 different shows you guys were watching, enjoying, and now maybe you're just down to 2 or 3.
We're down to like 3 or 4, yeah.
Okay.
You
Do
know
you
what's
think?
saving us? RuPaul, bitches. No one ever gets sick of RuPaul's Drag Race. That's
How
right, Mama. Yes, Mama.
how many seasons have there been on there?
This is season 9. No, 10.
Oh, okay. Season 10, huh?
Yeah.
So that show
Um,
could be never ending.
no, it probably won't actually because it's the highest rated show in the entire network of Logo. That's so high, in fact, that they moved it to VH1, and then the ratings just went up higher.
Oh.
Um, no, here's the thing. Like, I sent you an article today about the raving that people are doing about Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
saw.
the summer superhero show that you need to be watching.
Yeah, I saw the article and it said there wasn't a lot of cheese in it, and I forgot what the. I'm gonna pull that article up while you're talking. There was the last line of that thing I thought was kind of interesting. Well, what did you think of it? I know that's why
Uh,
you sent it to me.
I'm really reluctant to try it because I've been burned so many times by Marvel Television, or at least scorched, that I'm reluctant to get involved in yet another one. Um, I don't find the lead actors to be particularly attractive. That's a stumbling block for me. I know that's shallow, but hey, it's TV, people. We're not watching TV to look at ugly people. Um, so I don't, I don't know.
I
I
think
don't know.
the line here, part of this article that was written by who is this by? Um, I can't find the name on here. It doesn't matter here. But part of the article, the sentence is the powers appear rarely and thus retain their shock and impact when they do.
Okay, I'm out. That's what I'm saying. I'm
And
not
when
watching this show for this.
when I read it, I sat there and I go, well, that's kind of the reason why I would watch this show. I don't really care for a high end, melodrama between, one guy from the right side of the tracks and a girl not, and them coming together. And I'm sure it's a great story, but I'm kind of
The
watching it
interracial
more.
aspect doesn't really intrigue you, though, because that's not often portrayed in a high profile television show with people this in this age group.
Are you saying I should watch it just to support that?
No, I'm saying because it's something that you do support politically in your own life, and maybe that would be a point of interest for you to try to see if that, I don't know, it's one element that might draw you to it, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, in terms of actually not seeing that too often, You know what? You know that's like a positive for me. You know, in terms of what are you calling me? You call me like a basic bitch sometimes because I was like, "Ooh, I hear on Supergirl there was going to be a
Oh yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
interest. It was going to be black. What's his name? Jimmy Olsen.
Jimmy Olsen or whatever that they gave him a superhero identity for a
Y-
minute, I think.
Yeah, but you were making fun of me, going, "That's the reason why you're watching the show just for that whole concept," which I never did. But at the end of the day, while I feel like that's very cool, I still need it to be in a interesting package for me to watch. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
How do you know
And
it's not going to be if you don't watch at least the pilot?
I don't. There's been many times I've misjudged something, and that's why I'm waiting for you to watch it
See,
and then
I don't.
report back.
I'm telling you now, I'm 50-50, probably 60-40 against at this point. I just don't feel it. I don't want to have another runaway situation in which I end up watching 8 episodes of something and I go, why the fuck did I just watch those 8 hours? I'll never get those 8 hours of my life back. And yeah, I might spend those 8 hours just picking lint out of my navel, but at least that's my choice. Whereas when I watch these shows, I feel like I get bamboozled a lot. If they're telling me that they're going in and the powers are rarely going to be seen, this is not a surprise to me, but it's not something that's drawing me to it.
Yeah, and this is going to be a slow build here. I mean, this is going to be one of those shows where, what, his brother gets killed by the police, and then she loses her father in a car wreck, and her mom becomes addicted to drugs. Like, this becomes one of those things, like, this just seems heavy.
Yeah, and
And I don't know if part of it is I don't need Ant-Man and Wasp hijinks, but I also don't need like Downer City and just slow moving melodrama. Um, while it's a great that it's got a positive review, and I actually hope it does well because I feel like having an interracial romance be forefront of someone's youth creates some sort of harmony and balance, which I appreciate, as you said. Um, um, I just don't know if I can spare my time between my Hulu, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and HBO now.
wow. I personally feel like, we're going to stick right now with finishing Jessica Jones and then getting into Luke Cage. That's probably more of a priority for me as far as Marvel TV. And we still have like 4 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to finish from last season. So, I mean, we've got a little bit of a queue, and I just don't feel the need to add another one that looks kind of mediocre to me. So, and,
So when does the show come out? When does it drop?
I think this week, the 7th, I think. So maybe Thursday, or
Yeah.
maybe it's actually tomorrow. I don't know. It's for the 4th, or it's this week sometime.
Yeah, maybe I might turn it on for like 5 minutes, but it's one of those things. Like if a show like this, it would have to like suck me within the first 3 minutes of me watching it. You know,
Really? Do you
yeah,
think that's likely?
certain things, stuff like that has happened sometimes where you're just like, there's enough. The characters have enough magnetic charisma to sit there and suck you right in. I don't know if that's a show.
Okay.
I can't lie. I'm not going to watch it.
Okay. Well, I
All
mean,
right.
we're
Well,
probably in the same boat, so I don't think we're exactly a
but
target
I wish.
audience for it
Yes.
anyway.
Listen, I wish it success. What's on Freeform anyway? Is there any shows on Freeform that anybody in our age group would watch?
I mean, it's a popular network. They have that Foster show on there that has like the lesbians that have like 13 kids or something.
Okay. Never
I
heard of
mean,
it.
you've never heard of the Fosters, really?
No, I have not.
Okay. I think they have like that Pretty Little Liars maybe on there.
Okay, well,
I don't know if
that
that's
says a
even.
lot about that network. See, that's not my demographic, Bill. That's not my demographic.
Well, I mean, I think good TV, Jay, is good TV. Maybe it's just, even though
Did you see that Andrew Lincoln is leaving Walking Dead?
I did. I don't know why or how that's gonna. I mean, isn't he kind of like the lead character in that whole show?
Yeah, they're thinking about bumping Norman Reedus' character up as to be the lead.
I heard that. So is it Andrew Lincoln's choice to leave then, or are they writing him out based on character? Like, are they killing him off so they can tell other stories, or is he
You
like,
know
I
what,
want out?
Bill? I have to say I haven't been fully involved in that because I given up on that show after a while. But I feel as though like it's not a part where I feel as though my sense was that he was just sort of walking away, like he was sort of done.
Right.
Um,
You know what he's probably. I mean, I don't. You know what he's not done with is cashing checks. So maybe he should rethink that. But I mean, hey, I'm sure he must feel like he knows what he's doing. So
for somebody who doesn't watch the show like myself, I have to admit I don't believe that Norman Reedus is really a great candidate for the lead character.
he's extremely popular, though, isn't he? Isn't he very, very popular on that show?
Yeah, he absolutely is very popular, but I think you have to understand his popularity comes from it's sort of like a Boba Fett role. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think it's in that regard, like you have like I don't know, let's say Luke Skywalker and Boba Fett. Everybody thinks Boba Fett's cool, but I don't know if we kill off Luke Skywalker and then have Boba Fett just take the lead. I just he's got limited like Rick Grimes' character was the everyman character. You know, like he had a lot of different hats to wear: father, husband. You
Yeah, but he's
know,
been on that
uh,
show for like 9 years, right, or however long that show's been on. It's
so
been
has
long.
Norman Reedus, but
Right,
his
but he hasn't
character is
had that
more of
chance.
it's more of like a hillbilly, you know, with a heart of gold, but still hillbilly. You know, quiet, you know, warrior. Now all of a sudden you're asking him to lead a group of people, which you know, it's kind of having like a limited skill set.
Right, but maybe that's the issue is that they've maybe written Rick's character into a corner because they've put him through every possible hoop they can make a character believably go through. So they're sort of running out of maybe story potential for that character, and so they are trying to shuffle it up a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I don't watch the show either, so
So they squeezed all the blood of that turnip that they could, huh?
it's possible. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems after 9 seasons that they would have probably done a lot with him. I know his wife died, his kid died. You know, I mean, he watched his friends get their heads bashed in, ugh. And so maybe maybe they don't really have anything else to do with him.
Okay, let's talk about something that matters, Bill. You'll appreciate this. For
Okay,
all the fans out here, this is where Carlos starts to fast forward the podcast.
I'm aware.
So, a picture came out with Jason Momoa's Aquaman armor
Sure.
recently. And have you had your finger on the pulse as to what people have thought about it?
I have not. I haven't really. I mean, I don't think there was that much kind of chatter about it, at least not on my timeline, Twitter timeline. I personally had some thoughts about it that weren't too positive because I felt like it was a little bit like a boob tied blouse with the midriff armor.
What did you call it?
A boob tied blouse. You never heard of the term boob tied blouse before? It was very big in the 70s.
No. Is this from you watching Paris is Burning? Is this where you're coming
No,
up with these new terms?
no, it was a fashion trend where girls turned up their shirts and tied them in a knot underneath their boobs. Boob tied blouse.
Boob tied blouse. Okay, all right.
I'm sure
I
if you
know.
asked your girlfriend what a boob tied blouse is, she would know.
Listen. I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't think I knew that as the term. I don't think I even. I didn't know it
Okay.
as a term.
Okay. Anyway, that's what it looks like to me. It's like a midriff armor with his belly exposed. And listen, I'm not complaining about exposing Jason Momoa flesh because, I'll take as much of that as they want to show me. But I just think it's an odd look for a superhero uniform, costume, whatever. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So it's
Speaking of
not
Jason
growing on.
Momoa, though, did you see that he dropped out of The Crow this week?
Yeah, I saw well, he dropped. He dropped. I thought they lost a director.
And the star. Him and the director quit.
Yeah. Well, what do you say to that?
Well, I mean, this movie has been in development for like a million years. I mean, first of all, I don't know that
Go ahead.
I don't really care that much. I mean, I like The Crow. The Crow's in my collection. I enjoyed the original movie. I mean, it's not one of those heroes that I need to see 14 versions of, like a Batman or something. So, it's kind of low on the totem pole as far as like my interest level goes anyway on a remake for that. But, I think Jason Momoa would have added an interesting flavor to it because he's Jason fucking Momoa.
Yeah, it would have been very interesting. Not to mention because he's just so big.
Right.
It would have. It seemed like in terms of the physicalness of it, it would be different than who was that? Brandon Lee's character.
Yeah.
You're right about that. It seems like do you think there was time for a Crow remake? I guess it's been so long. You might as
I mean, I
well.
don't know. I mean, everything's going to get done over again. That's clear because
Yeah.
that's really where they're going with it. But
But
uh,
so
I
once
do
again,
have
you have a problem with it. It's the Gambit thing. You can't find a director. Things just fall off. It's just
right. So Jason Momoa said that he doesn't want to. I'll give this props to Jason Momoa for saying, this is not the version of the character that I want to play, and that movie. He said, he asked fans to like pray for it because the movie needs help. I mean, it was kind of like, oh,
what do you mean? It wasn't a. He said it was a version he didn't want to play.
he said the version in the script is of the character is not the version he wants to play, and he said that people should, hope for the best because this, the way it's written now is not in good shape. Is basically what he said.
Wow.
Um, but
Wow.
I will give him props for turning down the money in order to maintain his artistic integrity. I guess I don't know, but at least he didn't do the movie and then shit on the movie. At least before the movie got filmed, and this is exactly the time this is appropriate for him to do. When you read the script and you don't like the script, instead of cashing the check, just walk away. Don't do the fucking project, cash the check, and then shit on it years later, Ryan Reynolds, when it's time for your other franchise to do, a publicity tour.
Okay, I like that. That's exactly what I like. I don't know if the studio appreciates him. I know they sat there and canned. I don't know if I would appreciate still the talent talking about it if they don't like it though. I wouldn't appreciate that though.
Well, yeah, I agree,
You
but
walk away and just say like, you know what, they're going in a different direction like than I want to go in, and I wish them luck. I don't know if it like pray for their script, pray for their script over there. That's kind of harsh.
I
I mean,
mean, it
shit.
is, but again, I
We're-
think it's a better time. If you have to say something, now is the time to say it, and instead of being an asshole and doing the movie, and then when the movie doesn't do well, coming out and saying, "Well, I knew that movie was going to tank anyway because it sucked, and I knew it, but they were offering me X amount of dollars, and I got real, bills to pay."
Yeah,
I
speaking of cancellation, you see also that Silver Sable and Black Canary or whatever that movie was called has now been put on indefinite hiatus.
Yeah, I think that's also not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not sure that there's enough familiarity amongst the general audience to make that movie financially viable. So I'm glad they came to their senses. It's one of those things like Venom. I'm not sure that that's going to be enough to pull people into theaters on the levels that they want either. But you
Well,
know,
what's the level? Do we know how much Venom has cost?
well, I mean, it's a major motion picture. There's effects heavy. I'm going to say at least 100 and 100 to 150 mil.
You
Maybe
know this.
cheaper, but I doubt it.
This is why we need to have a producer in studio, not to put like some controls on me, but to be able to look up. If we need like an intern, that's what we need.
Well, I mean, doesn't don't you have like three people living in that house? Doesn't one of them maybe need a little extra cash on the side? I mean, when I say a little, I mean like a roll of quarters because that's all we can afford. But I'm just saying.
How about we give you a shout out on the show?
Yeah, nobody wants
So,
that, Jay. They want the hardcore cash.
yeah. Anyway, so the whole Silver Sable Black Cat thing, that's like non-news for me really because I don't think that should be made at this point. Like once again, like the focus should not be on that. Um, the whole idea is if they were trying to really expand that universe, it would make sense. But I just don't know if Silver Sable and Black Cat creates enough buzz for me. I think what you really need is you need to have Spider-Man in these films if you're going to be doing
I
that.
agree. I think not having Spider-Man in a Spider-Man universe is the dumbest thing. But I'm not a Sony executive.
Now, if you were to tell me that somehow that these roads like Venom, and then you were to do another, you know, spider villain character, and that these are going to be leading to the Sinister Six, and then that leads to a confrontation with the Spider-Man, I might actually be more patient with that because I'd be like, that's some sort of like cool, under the radar world building. Not big movies, but eventually could turn into something big, grand.
You know what they
But
could do? They could make it Spider-Man Homecoming 2 Venom and put Spider-Man in it, and that would actually interest me. I don't know that Tom Hardy playing a Spider-Man villain is enough to draw me out of my air-conditioned refrigerated bedroom. So
did I read a story that said that Andrew Garfield wanted to play in Spider-Man: Homecoming 2 a villain?
I did not see that. I don't know.
Okay.
I would doubt that to be true. I mean it could be, but I haven't read it.
Okay, so that might have been some sort of Russian
Fake
internet
news.
troll then.
Yeah, they do that, you know.
Yeah, okay. Well, allegedly they do that, Bill.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Silver Sable, Black Canary. Here we go. This one I actually want to enjoy this one. So Melissa McCarthy has a movie coming out called The Happy Time Murders,
Do we
and
really have to
it's
cover this?
so apparently that involves a human detective and a puppet. I think they're investigating, I don't know, the murders of other puppets.
Right.
Its tagline is called "No Sesame, All Street."
Mhm. And Street sued them, I think, and lost already. I think the judge said that they can use that tagline.
What are you talking about? They have already lost. It
Yeah,
just
well,
started.
I think the judge shut it down before they even got to an actual trial. I think he said that there's, nothing they can do about it so far.
For the friends who wouldn't like to watch red band trailers of obscene stuff, do not watch this with your children in front of you or around you or anybody with other sensitivities.
How
But
about
I
you just
found
don't
this shit.
watch it because we don't want to fucking feed this monster and make more of this crap?
Listen, I found this shit to be hilarious, Bill. Just from a raunchy standpoint, it's. I mean, is it too much raunch for you? That was just too much.
There are some things I think that don't need to be actually made, and I just think that there's some things there's lines of taste and good standards that maybe don't need to be crossed. I just don't think it's funny. I think it's actually offensive.
Oh, this must be the age. This is the age yet. You think if you were like 20, you would have been like
No,
laughing this up?
no, I
No.
do not know. There's no age or taste period of my life in which I would have thought a Muppet spewing cum all over the walls at the end of a trailer would be funny.
I thought that was a bit much, but I think the show really comes out hardcore. I mean, the show comes out letting you know what it's about. I mean, hey, by the way, people are going to go see Deadpool. What do you think they're doing in Deadpool? I
I'm
mean,
pretty sure Deadpool doesn't have a scene like the end of the trailer for Happy Time Murders. And if it does, when I go see it, if I decide to see it in theaters, I will get up and walk out. Because
well,
there's just some things that I just don't need to see in this life.
speaking of walking out, did you see that? What is it? What's that? Lars Van? What is it? Lars
Lars
Van
Van
Trier?
Trier.
Yeah, he's done some movie that's coming out with Matt Dillon called The House That Jack Built. I think it's really just a story of a serial killer,
Okay.
and I watched a trailer for it. I think it was shown at Cannes Film Festival, and people allegedly just got up and started walking out, and other people gave it a standing ovation at the end.
And
I
why were
watched a
people walking out?
Well, I watched the trailer, and I'm not having seen the movie, obviously, but watching the 2 to 3 minutes of this trailer where he seems to do a lot of violence towards children, females, and males, of killing people. It seems like your phrase, torture porn, like
Okay.
getting in the mind of a serial killer and hanging out with him as he goes and creatively kills different people. I was turned off. Now the Happy Time Murders trailer with the Muppets and the puppets doing all sorts of offensive thing, I laughed. This here, I was actually turned off by it to where
So
I was just like,
Muppets engaging in adult sexual behaviors is okay. Doing
well,
drugs, snorting, what is it? What's that powder stick candy? What's she?
powder stick candy.
That candy that it comes in a powder pixie stick. Snorting pixie sticks through a Twizzlers, that's okay. But killing children and young,
Well,
women or
it's not even
whatever.
so
It's
much the
that
killing. It's almost like the having the camera linger over these things. Like you're, watching somebody. Like I think he grabs the jack from a car and starts bashing the girl in the face, and he keeps bashing her like the camera's on top of you. It's sort of like what is that? Like the Human Centipede movie?
Yeah, I think
Like
they're
this.
making another one of that if I saw that correctly.
Yeah, I believe so. But part of it is you're just kind of like, what's the value of watching some of this stuff? Like, I don't, besides just being, what's the word I'm looking for? Bill escapes me. You're you're showing
Gratuitous?
gratuitous, exploitive.
Okay.
I mean, I can watch Silence of the Lambs, and but the violence that happens in that film sort of like furthers the story and serves the purpose. I feel like the trailer was just showing me like, well, here's some violence and look how we're going to eviscerate this body, and then move on to the next one and do that and do that. Because I just
Listen, before I ever watch frame one of this trailer, you've lost me with Lars von Trier being the director. So
you
I
don't like Lars's work.
I
Have
don't.
you
I've only
have you
seen
seen
one.
any of his work?
I saw Dancer in the Dark, and I wish I hadn't have seen it. So
What was that about?
it was about Bjork. It's like a musical about a blind woman who works in like a steel factory. I think she's blind and deaf, maybe. I don't know. It's a musical.
Okay.
It was awful.
Uh, Okay, was it offensive in some sort of way, or
No,
you
it just
just didn't?
sucked. It was offensive in the fact that I'll never get that 2 hours back of my life that I paid $8 to see it, that I spent an evening watching it. But other than that, no, I'm sure it was fine.
Uh, okay, all right. So he's done Antichrist, Melancholy. He has something on Netflix called Nymphomaniac, which, by the way, I didn't even turn on. I didn't even turn it on.
Hmm.
Um, I think I've seen a couple of his movies to where I just didn't really care for his style whatsoever.
Right.
Um, but hey, I guess it works for him.
Well, I mean,
Oh, I
you
see this
know,
Dancer in the Dark.
yeah.
A East European girl goes to America with her young son, expecting it to be like a Hollywood film. I guess it doesn't turn out to be like a Hollywood film.
There's music in it. I mean, it's not really fun, but there's music.
Righty. Well, anyway, so you're not down with the Happy Time Murders. You won't be
No.
watching that film.
And I won't be watching the Lars von Trier slash fest either. So,
Okay. All right. Well, that's where we're
are you
at,
going
Bill.
to put those in your? Well, I'm sure you'll see the Happy Time Murders, but when your girlfriend comes walking through the room and she's like, "Hey, babe, what are you watching?" and the guy starts coming on the wall, what are you going to say? The puppet.
Uh, I made her watch the trailer.
Oh, and was she delighted as I was?
Well, she chuckled at one point overall, but I don't really think that suits her sensibilities on that
Okay.
one. So,
Did she like the
you know,
scene at the end with the guy when he was like nailing her against the wall?
she's just kind of like, this seems very adolescent,
Mm.
and it's not for everybody. Certainly these things. It's like South Park, Bill. It's not for everyone. You know, some
Okay.
people are Seinfeld, some people are South Park. Some people are The Simpsons, some people are,
What's interesting to
Robot Chicken.
me is that you're always yelling at me about being like having a 12-year-old sensibility when it comes to these like superhero movies, and that I'm just easily pleased because, I have a childlike mentality about it. Yet this fucking 10-year-old joke, 12-year-old joke movie has you just rolling down the aisles.
Bill, it's because it speaks in layers. It's layers. It's taking things that you normally don't see because puppets are supposed to be like kid friendly.
Jay, how
And
low hanging fruit is subverting expectations of a fucking puppet? How easy is that? How is that sophisticated humor?
okay, listen, when we go to see Ant-Man and Wasp and somebody does some sort of fart joke in the first 10
Right.
minutes, I'm gonna look at you and be like, so this is yeah, what are you gonna smile at me and be like, oh, that was cute. That's kind of cute. Ant-Man farted in his suit and he has to open up his mask and the villains get to see his face. I mean, all right, all right.
No, what she
Let's
would
move
prefer is
on.
to have the ant instead of playing drums, to have the ant like banging a wasp, like an actual wasp, and then spewing, ant jizz all over her butt, I guess. Oh,
You know what?
that's awesome! Never saw that coming.
What I prefer is there not to be an ant on a drum set. How about that? How about we start there? Whoever wrote that scene, I just want to just smack in the face to
I
be
love it
like,
myself.
I don't know who's walking around. Like, is there like a second director, third director, or assistant producer that's going like, you know what, this scene is so great. The ant playing the drum set.
Why is
Can
that
we put
scene?
this in the
Why is that
trailer?
scene so terrible for you? Like, what is it about that scene that bothers you? Like, it's not possible that the guy who talks to ants and has a intimate relationship, nasty, with ants, could possibly have some kind of like effect on his ant friends that they would learn
Bill,
like human
anybody
ways.
that's sitting there that was remotely tied to Zack Snyder's Dark Knight universe or anything that they might want to take some of these underwear movies seriously is already out on that scene alone. Anybody that sits there and goes, you know what, I really want to go see this. This looks really cool. And then when they see the ant on the drums, they realize that maybe I can just take my 5-year-old kid to enjoy this because this seems like the level that they're playing at. That they're not playing at the level I'm at currently.
How is it any more
You
outrageous
know,
or
what you're doing
outlandish?
is instead of giving them Dunkirk, you're giving them Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's what the difference is,
For
Bill.
10 seconds in the trailer of the movie. And as we know, these things are sometimes filmed anymore just for the trailer. It might not even be in the movie. But the thing also is that how is the drum playing ant any more over the top or unbelievable or ridiculous to you than a talking raccoon and a walking tree?
Well, the talking raccoon and the tree are characters, and they seem very cool to me.
Okay, that's
listen,
fine.
listen. It doesn't mean because I don't like one that I'm going to dislike the other. But the ant within the world of Ant Man and Wasp playing the drums, I, uh, it doesn't fit. It might fit in Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It does. It just seems weird. It just seems like a half feeble attempt at humor, and I'm not really sure the audience like that's directed to. An ant playing drums. Who's supposed to laugh at that? Are
I
you
laughed.
telling me that okay?
I did. I think it's adorable. I think his relationship with the ants in the first movie is adorable. I think how they, make the raft when he's going through the tunnels and whatever. I think him and that Anthony that he names is one of my favorite relationships in the movie. To be honest, I mean that's just how I feel. That might be only me, but I liked it. And I hated when Anthony died. I couldn't. I really felt a pull on my heartstrings in that part of
I
it.
think I might have been sleeping during that scene. His aunt
Both
died.
times, yeah, Anthony died.
I didn't know that. So this is a replacement ant playing the drums.
No, it's probably the ant that was running around at the end of Ant-Man 1. Remember?
What's gonna be our Saturday movie so I can wash the stink of this Ant Man movie out of my mind and
Well,
my soul?
Ant-Man 1, of course.
No, it can't be. It can't be, Bill. It
Really?
cannot.
Really? I mean, it's part of the MCU. I don't know why you can't just give it a pass as one of the lesser ones for you, but it's still part of the universe.
Listen, can we just pick it out of a hat? Can we put Ant Man and the Wasp movie in a hat with 2 other potential movies, and then we
Yes,
just let the fates?
that's fine. I can do that.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. How's your boy Morgan Freeman doing? Has he survived his scandal, or is he still under some sort of?
I think he threatened to sue CNN for releasing the story because he says it's not true.
I didn't CNN tell him to go pound salt.
Yeah, I think CNN said that they stand by their story, but I mean, I don't know.
Has he lost any work that we're aware of?
Well, no, but I mean, it's early.
Okay. Um, the official picture of Shazam came out of Zachary
Yeah,
Levi
yeah,
in costume.
right.
What were your thoughts on that, Bill?
I think it looks fun. I think it looks cheeky. I think it looks anti Zack Snyder universe, which is kind of probably, I'm sure, not an accident. Um, and I think, it looks bright and colorful, and I think it looks like a good time at the movies.
Speaking of good time, Bill, I saw this photo, and like the ant with the drums, I was completely out on this. Zachary Levi's in a Shazam costume, and he's sipping on like a big gulp,
Mhm.
with like a grin on his face. I thought this is the worst thing you possibly could have done for me to show me Shazam in this light.
Okay.
I'm not really sure the direction that. Well, I know it seems like the direction they're going for the movie, but it confuses me as to where their whole universe stands.
So
Are
you've heard
we
them say
going
that it's
serious, half serious? Are we going full comedy now? Are we doing the Guardians of the Galaxy thing here with Shazam? What's Black Adam going to be like? Is Black Adam going to be serious? I don't think he's going to be serious now. I'm just very confused by the direction they're going. And, this is not a direction I support. And I don't really know a lot about the Shazam character, but
so you've heard it described basically as a cross between Big and Superman. So you
well,
understand that.
I know what he's supposed to be like a Superman, but they're treating him like almost like a what's the word? A kid Superman, like a young Peter Parker Superman. Oh golly gee.
I don't know that I get that. I get that vibe. Um, I get that it's going to be kid friendly. I think, but also I think it's going to be bright and colorful and fun. I get more of like the Ant Man maybe vibe from that than maybe Spider Man. But Spider Man was fun too. So I mean, I don't think that's entirely a problem. But I do think that it's going to be like Superman if Superman was allowed to smile in BVS and Man of Steel.
I don't know if that's going to find an audience.
I don't either, and maybe it won't, and
Uh,
that's okay.
uh,
Not all of them
uh,
do. So I've
yeah,
learned something over
yeah.
the last couple of years. I don't,
Go ahead.
and we'll talk about this later with the Han Solo issue. Maybe not all of these movies are going to satisfy every person, and I think I have to be okay with that. Because the most important person
Well,
for
isn't that the way it always is with you? As long as you're happy with it, that's all that really matters.
yeah, but when you're talking franchise films, you always want them to be, if you like them, you want them to be financially successful, at least, if not critically successful, which is also a plus on top of financial
Listen,
success.
I like
You can survive
Warcraft.
without.
Warcraft was probably one of my top 10 movies of the year.
Right.
All right. I'm not getting a Warcraft 2. Sure,
Right.
I would like to have been successful, but it
Right.
didn't.
Right.
I mean,
But with these movies building this universe, I think for myself, I need to sort of back away from the whole pressure that I put in my own head about if it isn't successful, then everything is just going to be all going to shit and it all sucks. Not the movies, mind you, if I enjoy them, but the fact that they're not successful enough to warrant following chapters or franchise world building, whatever. Because I do get emotionally attached to these things. And it does sort of bum me out when stuff that I really like isn't seen in the same light by the majority of people. But the thing I've sort of remembered or sort of thought about this weekend with the whole Han Solo issue is that eh, I've never been a person who really was gotten myself by most people. So I'm not surprised that things that I like aren't really embraced by most people either, because that's kind of the story of my life. And I have to be okay with that and just accept that what I get These are gifts for me if I enjoy them. I, will treasure them myself. And then, if we don't get another in a series of something, then, I just have to move on from that.
Okay, well, I'm glad you found some sort of peace within that. Um,
Because the Star Wars fandom is eating itself over Han Solo, by the way.
okay, well, we're about to get there. I mean, I feel as though, like, with the Shazam thing, I hear what you're saying in that you're just kind of like, if they create something, I end up liking it, then and not everything is gone to hell because it might not be another one. At least
Right.
I do have Shazam.
Right. If I like
Uh,
Shazam. But,
If you like Shazam,
we'll
I'm
take
thinking
Justice League as one
right.
example of that.
Yeah, and that's great. And and I'm not really sure where my thoughts are on that whole scenario. I'm looking at it like from a business aspect in and of itself. Like I feel as though like if you're trying like I want some of these movies and I feel as though like okay, do I want more Superman, Batman, more Justice League? I do. But I feel as though that looking at some of the things that they're doing now, I feel like I'm not getting that because I feel like these are missteps, my personal opinion. Without even seeing a trailer or seeing anything else, just looking at the poster, my first reaction is this doesn't seem to be a direction that's going to be successful for them. Okay.
But
This
Jay,
doesn't seem like something like a DC. I mean, once again, if you're now trying to copy Marvel, I think that's
the direction
I
that
think
they
I
went
see it,
in.
and I think other people see it like, okay, now you're just selling out, and you're trying to be somebody that you're not. And by the way, Marvel's already, it's kind of like Apple phone. You're trying to catch up to somebody who's got the iPhone 10 and 11. You've got a built-in audience, and all of a sudden you're trying to do something like that, and people are just like, well, you're a knockoff. I'm going to go with
Well,
Apple. They're doing it the best. And
when
so
they
what you
went,
have to do is you have to carve out your own thing and come
they
up with
tried that.
something unique and
They
to
tried
stand
that,
out. Well,
and people
try
rejected it.
something different. Well, what I'm saying is try something different. I don't think this is the answer. Having Shazam drink a big gulp on a poster, I don't think is the I don't think that's the answer. That goes in the opposite direction. But I don't think that's the answer, Bill.
Well, I
It
hear
doesn't
you,
make
but
me excited for them and their future properties.
I
And
don't
I want the
understand.
movies to be successful, Bill. I want them to be successful, but I'm just saying I just don't think this is the formula. I just don't.
I don't understand why, when Marvel takes these movies and makes widely different tones between even chapters in the same character's story, as in Thor Ragnarok versus Thor 1 and Thor Dark World. Um, why that is seen as diverse and keeping things fresh and keeping things unique and different between movies, and they are applauded for that. Why is it okay for them to do that? But what, and it's not okay for DC then to take a tone like Batman versus Superman and do something widely different from it, like they try to do with Justice League, or widely different from that, like they're doing with Aquaman, or widely different from that, like they're doing with Shazam. Why is that bad? But when Marvel does the exact same thing, they get nothing but fucking love for people.
I don't know how to answer that question. I can only speak for myself, and that I wasn't a fan of Thor Ragnarok. I didn't really care for the shifting tone. I did not find it
Right,
to be
but you
humorous
agree
or
that people
groundbreaking.
didn't shit on Thor Ragnarok. It was the highest grossing Thor movie yet, and people did not say, "Oh, this doesn't match the other Thor movies." They were like, it was seen. Chris Hemsworth gave interviews that said, "I didn't want to play that Thor again. I was bored with it. I wanted to do something comedic and different, and this is why we went this direction." And he wasn't kicked around or knocked about it. People applauded it that
Yeah,
I
well,
saw on
I
my
think
time.
part of that is the whole thing of you've built up your brand enough to where people like what you do, and even if they don't like what you do, they still try to find a way around it, and everybody wants to support it. And it's, you know, call it what you will, drinking the Kool-Aid.
Okay.
Um,
And see,
I'm
this is
not
where this
sure.
is where it bothers me, because there's a double standard, I think, going on here, and I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's equal. I don't know why people have decided to come for DC in the levels that they've come for, and now they're coming for Star Wars in the same way. I mean, if you don't like something, it's perfectly fine. But why you can't see, or why people can't see, you know, quite honestly, I don't think that Marvel's doing anything in a level that's so far away from what DC's done. Yeah, some of them are bigger hits for everybody, for me, than others are. But I don't think that Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, even Suicide Squad, and Justice League are like the daytime soap opera version of superhero movies. And that Marvel is like the, Star Wars of superhero movies. I just don't see that. And there seems to be some kind of anti DC bias going on. I don't understand it. I think that there's a lot of DC versus Marvel shit happening. I just don't get it.
Do you, in all honesty, do you really think? I guess I'm already answering my question because it's almost like rhetoric. You think for all the trouble that DC has gone through, from Man of Steel laying it down, the foundation with Zack Snyder, Batman versus Superman, heading into Wonder Woman and the tones that they have, and then going into Justice League, do you think now for them to sort of like try to shift up and do something which appears to be comedic in terms of Shazam, you think that somehow that the people are on the other end going, this is what we want. This is what we wanted from our DC. More fun and humorous and having like a Superman character that's like bubbly and live and funny. You think that's what the people are clamoring for? Like, I feel as though they just don't even have their finger on the pulse. We've gone through this. All of a sudden they're like, well, maybe Batman versus Superman was too dark. We want there to be more comedy. So we inject some comedy in Justice League. Then they get their asses handed to them, and they're like, "Whoa, okay, well, maybe that didn't work here. What do we do? Let's inject more comedy in it. That's what we're missing." I feel as though they just are. I get
think
what
like
you're saying
everything
in terms
else.
of your terms of like the double standard. Well, sure, whatever. It still exists. You still have to find your own way to exist. Deadpool still makes money. All right, so I mean, there's room for you to exist next to Marvel and make money. And I feel as though they're just not, they don't really have a direction. And I feel as though I sense
But
it
I
as a
did. See, I
fan
don't.
that they don't have a direction,
I
Bill. And
don't.
now they're splintering off and they're all doing different projects now. You got Matt Reeves doing his own Batman, which might be some sort of side story not even connected to the universe now. Okay, you've got Wonder Woman being a success. So Patty Jenkins just is going to do a follow up, which is going to be in the 80s. So it's not even current with her. They're just going to do some other side story. Now we're going to have Aquaman. Who knows where that lines up? Now you're going to have a Shazam. It seems like they're all over the place. And maybe it might all come together, but it seems very disjointed. It's very disjointed.
I'm not saying it doesn't seem disjointed. I'm saying
It's perception. I'm not
I don't
saying
see it's a problem for me, and it doesn't seem to be a problem for other cinematic universes. So I don't know why the disjointedness is such an issue for people with this universe. I don't understand. Marvel does the same thing. Black Panther is about as far away from Ant-Man as you can get, and yet somehow they're both successful or considered successful.
Well, this is what you told me, though. It's like being Pixar. Your brand sells.
Fine. I mean,
Why,
listen,
why are we punishing Marvel for having a successful brand? So when they put out something that might be deemed the lesser quality, it still sells because it has Apple, Marvel, or Google written on it. They've earned
I'm not punishing them.
they've earned their stripes. Now
I'm not
everybody else is
punishing them.
trying to, like, we laugh about how like all of a sudden they tried to do Justice League. Now everybody's trying to catch up with them and make the money, and then they're upset because going like, hey, we made a movie that had jokes in it too. How come it's not as successful? Okay, well, it disrespects that they were already like 19, 20 movies in. I think they've earned some cred. I don't
Listen,
know if anybody just walks on the block and then expects to sit there and go, we have to have a successful movie universe because we also did A, B, and C what you did. I
no.
mean,
I mean, if you're saying, and people have accused Marvel many times of being formulaic, okay, and then you get another universe that uses a similar formula, then what if you use like, 3 drops of, olive oil and 3 drops of vinegar in your salad dressing, okay, but your brand is Kroger's and my brand is, Pompeian or whatever. Am I copying you because I make my salad dressing with a different brand and it might taste similar but not exactly? Maybe some people like that taste of mine a little better. Or, I mean, is it possible that these two things can exist? If you're using a formula that has made people happy, as far as general audiences go, then I think every other studio in the world would be out of business if they weren't allowed to sort of try to emulate that. And by the way, television studios also. Um, but again, I don't understand the
I,
dichotomy.
the thing about it is, Bill, I'm talking long term here. You want to have more of these movies, and you want it to be a success. So what do you do? What's the best way for you to sit there and you're not thinking just solo movie. You're not sitting there going, I hope that Shazam, on its own is just a hit. What you're hoping is that it has a hit and that you can build off of it and then have other movies and then it creates this whole thing that generates a whole universe. I mean, it's like the Dark Universe. They didn't go into the Mummy thinking, if the Mummy makes some money or it doesn't, whatever, we're just doing one. They're thinking 4 or 5 movies down the road. That's what they're trying to do. So if you're trying to create something, it seems like you have to be broad based. You got to have a plan. You got to figure it out, and you got to start making the steps to doing that. I'm. I mean, it's like if you go see Shazam, like you said earlier, and you go, you know what, I really like the movie. I enjoyed it. It sucks it didn't find an audience. Okay, well that stinks because that could be damaging that you might not get more of that. So you want more. So what's the best way for you to not get one, but several more? That's what they're trying to figure out here. They're not trying to just do a one-off movie.
Right.
And
But if they do the things that they think that people want to see, because that's what they're trying to do is put asses in seats,
sure.
and people decide they don't want to see it, I don't know that it's always a failure of the movie, and maybe it's just a failure of circumstances that, for whatever reasons, people weren't
Okay.
feeling it that week.
That's absolutely right. Then that's my whole point with them. They keep changing course. That's my point. I've never
But
bought into the whole thing of Batman versus Superman and all whatever else like that. I don't think they should have changed course. I've said that from the beginning on our old shows. You could be a circumstances. It could have been a cold winter. You know what? Maybe it was too hot. The people didn't want to go. Maybe it was Memorial Day weekend and people were flying. I don't know what all the circumstances is. I felt as though that they should have just stayed course, Bill.
Well,
Okay.
I
You had
understand, but see,
Wonder
we're
Woman
in an attention deficit disorder society. No one has time to keep spending million after millions after millions of dollars on something that people have clearly said they did not necessarily like.
Bill,
Because,
they're not winning the PR battle then. You know what? They
well,
need to get a
I
different
don't.
PR department and then start doing something else because they just can't keep shifting courses going from like you can't go from one tone all the way to the other end of the tone and think that's going to as soon as you start zigging towards once again they're trying instead of staying ahead of the curve. This is what Marvel's doing at least with me what they're pointing out. At one point you're sitting there going like, okay, well I don't know if this is what we're going to give you for Thor Ragnarok. It's sort of like Sam Raimi with The Evil Dead. You have a horror movie, the second one, instead of getting a second follow up horror, he does like half horror, half comedy. And by the time you get to the third movie, it's just all comedy. Okay, that's not where you saw it was going. That's not necessarily why we all saw the first Evil Dead, but they went in a whole different direction, and you followed along right with them. And so they gave you Thor Ragnarok, and maybe that's not where you thought it was going to go, but that's where they went. And then people came on board. They were leading the people. They're putting certain people in and giving them the opportunity to take you in a different direction. What the DC seems to be doing is asking what the people want. And by the time they sit there and generate the people already switch to want something else. So
So
instead
what
of
are
like
they supposed
leading,
to do then?
instead of leading, they keep chasing. And that seems to be their issue with me. They're always chasing, going, "What do you want? What do you want?" And by
So
the
if you
time you
put
get there,
something out and people
go ahead.
don't embrace it, are you supposed to just go, we don't give a fuck what the fans say? We're just going to keep fucking churning out what our vision is for this universe and screw the fans because people are telling us this is the worst thing they've ever seen. But somehow we're just going to go along with our vision because we know that we're going to eventually get to a place where we're going to get 19 movies in and suddenly people are going to decide they like us. I mean, who do you think, what kind of
Listen,
business do you think is run like that?
listen. Their tone, Wonder Woman was a hit, was it not?
It was.
Their tone wasn't so. Wonder Woman's tone wasn't so far off of Man of Steel's tone. Okay,
Okay.
these things aren't so divergent to where it's just completely different. Like Wonder Woman just completely just upended the whole DC, the way their whole movie structure and tone looks. Okay, maybe there was a little things that it was the women's movement, all the things you were talking about before, this or that, right time, right place. Who the hell knows? But it's not so divergent. Okay, so it's not like they can't have success in what they're doing. Maybe I don't know, Bill, but I don't think chasing. I don't think chasing after the people is ever going to work for you. I mean, certainly you need to follow exactly like this is that something that they're interested in, but I don't know how far you go after them. You don't give the people completely control. Like we need more comedy. Okay, let's interject comedy in every 5 minutes.
So if Amazon
I
raises
think you have to trailblaze a little bit. I think you have to trailblaze a little bit.
so if Amazon raises the Prime to $199 a year,
Okay.
okay, and the Prime memberships drop like 50%, is Jeff Bezos going to be like this? You know what? I mean, I'm blazing a trail here. I'm being the first internet company to charge almost $200 for shipping, but everybody knows people can't live without Prime, so they'll eventually pay me.
Isn't that what he's doing? I think he's
Well,
done
I
that.
don't think he raised it to $200. I think they
Well,
raised.
he hasn't raised it, but I think that's part of it.
Okay,
I mean, Apple
but
charges whatever $800 for a phone. We all pay for it. I
yeah,
mean, if you
because
don't want to buy our phone, then don't buy our phone. What do? We buy the phone. They don't sit there and go like the people don't go, well, the $800, $1,000, that's a lot of money. They're like, we know. That's what our product is worth. If you don't want it, then go someplace else. We're
I
not going
think
to
the
lower
movie
our price
industry.
for you.
I think the
You
movie industry in general is not in a position of power like Apple is at this point in our current
Well,
society
no,
or
but
Amazon.
DC certainly acts like one of those things like, okay, we're sorry we've upset you. We've taken a voting. What do you want us to do? Okay, so we listened to the trolls on the internet and we saw some of the people that came out of the movie and we decided that we're going to take their opinions and we're going to go hire a director who we're going to give him a list of all these opinions and tell him to follow what these Yahoo said and do something on that line. Oh fuck.
I don't.
That's exactly what I want to hear from my story creators, that they went out to the comic book stores and talked to the fans and then they came back with something and this is what we're going to do. Oh, okay.
Until
I didn't
they
know it was
made.
a popularity contest, Bill. If this is I didn't know this was we all get a vote.
Well, it is because we all get to vote with our
What do you get?
dollars, which is what keeps Warner Brothers and
What
DC
is
in
Marvel
business.
doing? Then Marvel is hiring somebody named Takiti Wahidi who came out with Thor Ragnarok. And then next thing you know, we have Avengers Affinity 4 with the Russo brothers who didn't have any of that nonsense that was going in Thor Ragnarok. I mean, what's going on? They're letting the directors direct and the stories they want to tell? That's what it
What's
seems like
going
to me.
on is that Marvel is currently in the midst of an unprecedented success streak in the history of Hollywood. I don't know how this is happening in the middle of Twitter and everything, the hater fanverse that's out there ready to slash everybody with their serrated edge knives as soon as they put out a movie. I don't know how this has gone this far without them having a failure, but their time is coming. Their number is going to come up because it's what happens to everybody. I'm not asking for it to happen. I'm not fan of Marvel. God knows that's not true. I've got 19 books up in my bedroom right now of the art of movies and all of their special edition Blu-rays to say otherwise. However, I do think that some of them are more worthy of being in my collection than others are. And I'm perfectly willing to say that. But I'm also willing to say at DC, they've done some fucking great work over there. And I'm a big fan of that. As in a general, as we've talked about before, if you said to me, Bill, you can either have the DC universe with 5 films, or you can have the Marvel universe with 19 films. Which ones are you going to pick off a desert island to keep, to rewatch a million times? In general, I'm going to want the DC universe. And maybe people find me not a big a Marvel fan for that reason, but to be honest, I think some of the stuff that DC has done has, not all of it, and certainly not all of Marvel, what they've done, but some of the DC stuff has given me some of the greatest movie-going pleasures of my lifetime. And some of the Marvel stuff has too, but not in a level that I say DC sucks and Marvel's great. That's just not how I feel about it.
Let's move on because we're never going to solve this, but let's dovetail this into Solo then. We saw the movie, but my question to you is, just on the heels of this conversation here, that Solo is not necessarily lighting up the box office.
Right.
Does that mean that they change course? Because if the overwhelming amount of fans don't agree with the movie, do they change direction then?
I think what's more likely to happen at this point is that obviously there's likely to not be a Han Solo 2. But they can obviously put that character. It's different for Star Wars than it is for Justice League, I think, because Star Wars has a universe that's established over 40 years of time, and they have the possibility of spinning off or putting them into the saga films at some point. So I think it's a little less perilous for Star Wars to have a blip on their radar than it is for DC. I mean, should we get into a Solo discussion because we're talking about? I mean, as far as
we should get into the Solo discussion, but I'm just trying to go in. We can talk about this, and maybe I'll have to think about this some more and read up on it more. But part of it, a lot of times, I'm just thinking, I'm spitballing here, brainstorming. These things are dictated. If your movie makes $1 billion, you get part 2. They want the director to come back, and they want you to continue the story that you did. Okay. Right. Rarely at that point do you see people change directions in the second part because the first part was so successful. They just want to continue that. That's the easy road. Then you have some people that actually do change direction, and then how do the people respond to that? And then how do you, as a studio, deal with it? Do you sit there and go back and say, you know what, that's not what the people? I mean, it seems things are changing. It seems.
I think they're going to take a look.
There's a lot of factors at play in the differences and how that works. But I'm really never a fan half the time of giving control over to people because they're very fickle. I mean, at one moment, we're here in position A this month, and next month, we may be in a different position. At one point, we were sitting there building statues of Bill Cosby, and the next month, we're tearing them down. It just depends on what happens. And it's just, it's fluid. It's fluid. And so if you're chasing me what I like at one moment, it may be completely different 6 months from now. So I appreciate you asking me what I like, and that's great. But by the way, if 6 months come by and you sit there, you gave it to me, and I changed, don't look surprised.
Listen, at these studios, I think there's probably some internal figure amount in dollars and cents that a studio expects to make on each one of these franchise or universe movies, whatever you want to call them. And if they don't hit those projections or those numbers, then I think that's considered to be on some level, a disappointment for the studio. And at some point, they decide, this isn't what we wanted to get out of this. Let's, retool, rethink, whatever, go in a different direction and see if we can hit those numbers that we internally want. Because fan outcry is one thing, and haterade and all of that stuff that's happening on Twitter with people coming for people is one thing. But if you actually make the numbers, I think there's a less amount of pressure.
Let me ask you, last question on this, and let's get into Solo. If we did Shazam, if the Shazam movie comes out, and let's just say my fear is that it's just full like comedy. He's sipping on the pop. He's making donut and bark jokes. Whatever else. It's just a joke-a-rama. Okay, it's CW, Freeform, Legends, Heroes of Tomorrow, Supergirl, all in one for Shazam the movie. If the movie doesn't do well, doesn't hit its numbers, do they retool and say, you know what, a lot of people thought this was just adolescent humor and they thought it was like they didn't want their Shazam to be this funny? Do they retool it and then go, let's make him very serious now? We're going to have him rip off arms and heads and make it serious drama. Do they go in the opposite direction then?
They might, or they might just say, we're tired of this fucking bullshit with these people that can't be pleased because we give them one thing and they don't like it. We give them something else, they don't like it. So we're just going to cancel all the rest of the DC movies and we're going to concentrate over here on fucking Fantastic Beasts. I mean, eventually that's what might happen.
Yeah, my two comments on that is, one, I feel they never go in the opposite. They always run towards comedy. Rarely do they run in the opposite direction of getting more serious and more violent. I don't think
that limits your
right. Tell me that with Deadpool. Okay, like tell me that with Logan. There is a market for it. Now, if you're always trying to sit there and go, we're trying to make $1 billion movie, okay, we're trying to get $1 billion in grosses, then okay, maybe I'm not the right guy for you. But don't tell me that it can't work. It's worked a lot of times. It just seems as though your only natural response is that, wow, if it's not comedy, then we can't make it, like the people can't think. Like it's just all Fast and Furious Transformers crowd. There's a wide swath of crowd out there consuming media. They need to trust the audience. And when I think of Logan, you talk about it, I know it's a low risk because it's the last movie and they don't have to worry about anything else afterwards. That's Hugh Jackman's swan song. But they still did something that was sort of unique, that not only got accolades, it made money. And so they didn't sit there and go, well, let's just try to be basic with this and just give the people what they want. Let's just give Wolverine whatever else, like, this or that. It seems like they thought something out of the box and went something that was avant-garde. It was something different. And it found success.
And that works for a character like Wolverine, who had elements of the things that were present in Logan throughout his character. They just necessarily weren't always focused upon.
Okay.
But for a character like, and I can't speak to Shazam. I mean, my only experience with Shazam is the 1970s live action show, which, probably bears little resemblance to any version of Shazam.
Bill, you and me both. I can only remember watching Shazam on some sort of cartoon, maybe a little bit.
You don't remember the live action version when him and the old man mentor were going around the country in the RV?
No, is this back in Land of the Lost days?
Yeah, it's Land of the Lost kind of thing. And they also had a character named Isis, who obviously will never work now.
Oh, yeah, I remember Isis. Would not work now, correct. But yes.
Right. But, I mean, talk about 70s cheese. I mean, it was really dreadful when I've tried to watch it, like, on YouTube, and it's like, oh. It's like Wonder Woman. Like, I can't watch the original Wonder Woman anymore because it just doesn't hold up. In, modern times, it just seems so dated. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, this stuff is on YouTube here. I'm going to have to fire this bad boy up later after this show ends.
Yeah, you'll get about 3 minutes in, trust me. But anyway, I don't remember where I was going with it, but
you're talking about the difference between that and Logan. Like it's
right. It works with a character like Logan. I don't know that I need to see a Superman movie that is like Logan. I don't know that I even want to see that. I think Batman versus Superman is about as close to that tone as I really want to get. And, even that I would say was too drab and too no fun, which is why for me, Justice League is such a triumph because it gives me a Superman that's closest to the Donner version of Superman that I remember, where he was, running around displaying his powers and actually being the Superman. And at the same time, not necessarily not smiling or, frowning through the whole thing. So, even Wonder Woman, which people love, and I don't in some ways, it's good. It's not great. Didn't have enough moments like the Justice League had in it to please me as a moviegoer.
I know what you're saying, and my last comment on this, I know exactly what you're saying. I think my broader point is I feel as though there's room for a lot of different types of superhero movies, and I don't necessarily think the response to having an unsuccessful movie is that you go further into comedy. Maybe that can be the answer on occasion on certain things, but I don't think that's always just
Thor
a given.
Ragnarok.
That if you're well, yes, absolutely. Guardians of the Galaxy. What I'm saying is, if your movie is not successful, I don't think the automatic response is the reason why it's not successful is because we're not having more fun and we need to put that on there. I think sometimes you just have to have like a very just unique property. You do something, you do it well, and you can find an audience for a superhero movie. I mean, you have the right actor, the right story, all these things can work. I just don't think it always goes into we need to tell more jokes, and that's what the people want from their superheroes. I just
Or
I feel like there's multiple ways to crack the nut. You can have a Dark Knight movie be successful with the Joker slamming your head into a pencil and still find an audience and accolades, as well as you can have a talking raccoon and a talking tree walk around and still find success. I just don't know why when you have not success, you just sit there and go the only solution here is we just have to make it more fun and accessible for adolescents.
because
I
be-
just don't know why they seem to run this direction, Bill. That's what it seems
because
like to me.
The Dark Knight was 2008. That was 10 years ago. The industry is not at the level of strength or power that it was even that long ago. And outside of Marvel Studios and Disney proper, everyone else in the industry is scrambling to try to find the formula that gets these fucking kids off these goddamn phones. Okay? That's what they're doing because everybody's seeing lesser and lesser returns because these kids have seen everything and they're fucking bored with the concept of a movie.
Bill, I'm one of those kids. If you want Shazam 2 and you haven't seen Shazam 1, then they need to follow my advice then. Okay? I know you don't want to hear that, but I'm telling you, you don't need Shazam sitting on a poster drinking a pop. I think that's just a wrong move for them.
Okay, well
I,
they tried Superman walking through the hallways with handcuffs on, and we saw what happened with the result of that. Now, I'm not saying that running in the opposite direction is what they should do, but I understand why they're doing it. I think, and it might not work for them. And
no,
like I said,
that's the thing about it. I know everybody's bored with this conversation now, but I'm just saying, what happens then? What happens then? Let's just be hypothetical here, knowing nothing about it. Let's just assume it's Comedy Central, and it doesn't work out for them. Where do they go from there then?
well, they already have Aquaman in the can, so that's
Okay.
already going to be a totally different tone, as we can already see from the basic promo materials and stuff that Jason Momoa has said in public
Yeah.
about the movie.
Fuck it.
James
Heaven
Wan.
forbid that Shazam is success because then they'll have to retool Aquaman to match it. That's what'll end up happening. But go ahead, finish what you're saying.
And
Aquaman's in
then,
the can.
Wonder Woman 2 is obviously, I think they started filming like 2 weeks ago, so that's going to be a different tone than Shazam. I mean, maybe Shazam is like, not it'll be the only lighter version of a movie that we get. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. What I hope is that I continue getting these movies until I find one that I don't like. I mean, I haven't yet, and that's for DC. And so, I as long as they keep entertaining me and delighting me and making me happy that I paid $8.50 or whatever for a ticket, then I'm good.
Okay. Well, let's get into Solo here. We
Okay.
saw this over Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
What do we call these? They're not saga film. Are they called episode? They're
They're
saga
called
films,
anthology or standalones.
standalones.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So we saw it twice.
Yeah.
We have um, and there was a lot of hype around this and a lot of drama whether or not people really even want these films like that.
In particular, this one because of the subject material, which is very
Well,
sacred and sacrosanct to people.
because it's the history of Solo.
Right.
Oh,
What?
um, right. So, what are your thoughts on the? Oh, we have the Fleckler sisters in studio rolling through. Oh, they're all
Hello.
back. Okay. Yeah.
How many of
Anyway,
them are there?
well, there's five of them, and we have a daughter in tow too.
Well, that's
So,
enough for like a cappella band.
yeah, yeah. No singing.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, Bill, what are your thoughts on Solo?
Okay, so I've seen the movie twice with you. I've had some time to ruminate on it. I've been listening to the soundtrack generally all week. I personally really enjoyed the movie. Do I think it is a 100% home run? Do I think it's the best of the Disney era Star Wars? I do not. In fact, I would probably say it's at this point, my least favorite of the Disney era Star Wars of the four that have been released. But don't get it twisted. I still thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and I still wish that it had been more successful so that I could see more of this version of Han Solo, because there are some scenes in the movie that I think are some of the best of the entire saga, and some that, I think could have probably been better. But
No,
my
wait a
big,
second. Go ahead.
in general, the action scenes in the movie I thought were some of the train heist sequence is some of the best Star Wars ever. I thought that was just a terrific scene. The scene when they bust out of the mine, freeing all of the people, and the droids go, crazy because they're free for the first time. I mean, that's just Star Warsian goodness to me. I mean, I'm sorry, but I couldn't get the smile off my face, in particular with that one scene. But then there's characters that were highly memorable, and again, some of the best characters in the saga. L3, I mean, what a great, refreshing twist on the droids. First of all, it's the first major female droid we've had, which, that's a whole other issue we can get into. But the fact that she was just full of quirkiness and personality, that's something that's been, shown in other droids, but it was still unique and fresh. It doesn't feel like they've overplayed these droids and we just keep getting twists on the same droid. That's not how this feels to me. I mean, BB-8 is not L3, is not K2, is not 3PO. Clearly, they are putting a lot of character development into the droids. Now, that might be, something that's sort of a side issue for a lot of people, but to me, I appreciate it because there's so many of them in the saga, and they still yet feel fresh and interesting to me. I love the fact that L3 her brain was incorporated into the Falcon when she died. I think the death scene for L3, sorry, these are probably spoilers for some people, but listen, it's 2 weeks out, and if you don't go see it soon, it's probably not going to be out much longer. So, but Alden Ehrenreich, to me, I'll be honest, I had a difficult time accepting him from jump. When we talked about the trailer, the very first one that came out a few months ago, one of the things I brought up, maybe even here on the show, was that I just didn't feel his voice was a match for Harrison Ford. I think his physical appearance looked fine. It wasn't that as an issue for me, but his intonations and his delivery, I felt just wasn't where I needed it to be. And then we saw the movie, and then after the first couple of maybe half an hour, 30, 40 minutes of the film, that sort of melted away from me. And I felt like, yeah, he's not really Harrison Ford, but he did have Han Solo to me. Like the essence of Han Solo, with the way he stands, with his hands in the belt buckle, and the delivery of some of his dialogue that he had, in particular with Emilia Clarke, who played Kira. I thought their chemistry was off the charts. I really fell for them as a couple, and I think that Alden sort of grew into an amalgamation of himself and Harrison Ford, creating a Han that was recognizable but not a copycat. And I liked that. So yeah, like I said, the first 30 minutes or whatever, maybe not so much, but by the time we got to the end of the movie, I was all in with his portrayal of Han, and I would really have liked to have seen him get a chance to do that again. That's not likely now, but hey. Um, so in general, it gets a thumbs up from me. I think I said the second time to you, I turned over to you and said, I think I love this movie. And the first time we saw it, I was like, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna say what's happening to it, I really feel sad about. I think the movie's better than people are giving it um, attention for. I
All right,
really
well,
do.
hold that thought because I'm not really aware what's been going on. I mean, I saw the box office
Right.
results for the second week, but I don't know any of the backstory out there on the interwebs on that. So,
Okay.
my 2 cents. Well, I want you to discuss that afterwards.
Okay.
My 2 cents, and you can interject on some of these points because some of them I know there's been stories on is that I was very excited after watching the trailers. I don't think for me that the movie matched up to the trailers. For once, I thought in terms of the robot L3, I don't know who's in charge of writing the robot characters for some of these films. But what was the one from Rogue One? The robot
K2SO.
K2 as and as well as with L3, the robots are just refreshing. It's a unique personality. It's witty on a lot of different levels. And I don't know if it's because it's some sort of like almost quote inanimate object. There's something about how they write these characters that seems to connect with me.
Right.
Um, I think Donald Glover as Lando. I don't think it's a very difficult role, but either way, he hits it on the head. He nails it for me in terms
Yeah.
of like Lando. He's a refreshing, charming gangster. He plays the role to perfection. I think those are really two bright spots for me. I think Alden did not really embody Han Solo, and I watched a little bit of that one actor that we talked about that you said that was a lot of people were hoping might get the role on the
Yeah. Did you
YouTube.
see this week? They on Twitter they actually said they actually auditioned that guy. I forget what his last name is now, or even his first name, to be honest with you. But he's a dead
Right.
or
They
young.
they auditioned him, but it
Right.
just didn't work out.
Right.
They
Well,
did.
they went in. They chose obviously someone else, but they did audition him. I'm glad they at least are aware that that guy was out there and they made another choice. I can respect that more than saying, "Oh, well, they had no idea that he was even."
Right.
You
And
know,
I'm assuming if they didn't want to go with him, they had their reasons. Maybe he
right.
really couldn't act.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. But either way, I think just for what we have, like Alden did not necessarily sell the role of Han Solo for me. I felt like it wasn't that he's a bad actor, but I felt like maybe a part of the times he was trying too hard. Like I felt as though I think with Donald Glover being Lando, it seemed like it very flowed off of him. I think for Alden, it was tough shoes to fill for me. And uh, I mean, Harrison Ford it's a tough follow. It's a tough follow, Bill.
Sure.
And anyway, I also think the way the cinematography of this film, it was just murky. Now I saw there were articles they were talking about like Regal, the theater's projection equipment being old or this or that. And if you saw
Yeah,
it on
but
the right
we saw
equipment,
it
you,
in.
you know, like it could be better. But I still just in general, the darkness of the tones, the muted colors, it's just something that at least in the theaters that I saw it in with you, it doesn't help the movie. It
I mean,
doesn't make it bright and vivid. And if they're going for this whole Mad Max, you know, war weary dystopian world, it doesn't fit. I don't need it. It does. I can't make out things. I can't make out colors. It's a bad fit.
it's the biggest problem that I have with the movie, quite honestly, is the visual presentation of it wasn't really um, satisfactory, in my opinion. And I think after reading all the articles that other people have seen the movie and said, yeah, we saw it in Dolby Digital, we saw it in IMAX, we saw it at AMC, we saw it at Cinemark, whatever. I think this was clearly a choice that Ron Howard made or his cinematographer made. And I think it's unfortunate because I think that it really detracted from my ability to enjoy the movie, just for the movie's sake, because I was a lot of time struggling to make out what the fuck was actually happening because there was so much darkness and cloudiness and murkiness in the actual
Absolutely.
cinematography.
Absolutely. And I know. And am I supposed to blame the theater that I go in and see? I mean, who's
Well, we try. Well,
what?
I mean, this is one of the reasons why I wanted us to switch theaters between screenings instead of seeing it, in which we went to, which I expected to be a higher quality presentation because we went to see it in Dolby Cinema at AMC, and that's supposed to be, if you watch the trailer at the beginning of the movie, the best picture and sound available, in theaters, currently, and I don't remember there being an issue when we saw Black Panther in that same theater. But I thought to myself, well, maybe they just, their bulbs are not, their bulbs are low wattage or something. Whatever. Let's go to another movie theater and see it. And we went to another AMC, which has always been my go-to in the last 30 years since I opened there. And honestly, it was a little bit better because I could make out a little bit more stuff, and it didn't worsen. But the issue is, this should not be an issue in 2018 that you have to fight through 27,000 filters on whatever cover they're putting on a lens on a multi-million-dollar movie that really should be less difficult to visually enjoy. But to know that it wasn't the theater was helpful because I started thinking, am I going blind? What's happening? Do I need glasses?
Yeah, and I think overall for me, I don't really give this. I'm more like a pass fail on my grade here, and I kind of give it a fail. Like I don't feel that story, and part of this, I feel once again these things are kind of rushed for me. They had some issues on the set, with changing directors and still trying to get this film out on a certain time. I understand that we're saying that this, as you think you told me that Larry Kasdan and his son have been working on the script for like 3 years or something.
Right.
So this whole thing wasn't like all just rushed overnight. But either way, it has that feel for me. It feel like there's things that were heavy-handed. I mean, we got to find out where the dice came from. But I think there's a lot of things that were not. I was thinking about this earlier. Were not really fleshed out for me, which is what I would expect on this. You know, this lucky dice. We see this dice several different times. I don't really know what it's about. Is there a meaning behind it? Is there a reason why he have it? Was somebody giving it to him, or is it just his dice? Are we just supposed to infer that? Is there a comic book I'm supposed to read on that? There's some other things like he's a
No, but there
gambler.
is a deleted scene that
Yeah.
I discovered this weekend, which
Okay.
you shouldn't have to rely on that, but it's out there on YouTube of a scene that was cut from The Force Awakens, in which Han puts the dice back onto the thing that's on the Falcon that Luke takes them off of in another deleted scene, I think, from The Last Jedi. Again, I don't know why these things were necessarily cut because in The Last Jedi it was an issue for me because they made such a big deal out of the dice in which you know Luke gives to Leia and then force projects for Kylo Ren to remind him of his father,
Hmm.
and you think, well, where did these come from? In rewatching the A New Hope this weekend, or was it last weekend? Um, I did see the split second scene in which it is actually featured on the Millennium Falcon in that movie when Chewbacca's boarding the ship and his head knocks into the dice. But that's the only reference to those dice in the universe until we get to The Last Jedi, as it is now because of the Force Awakens deleted scene. Which, if
Yeah.
it's deleted, it's not in the goddamn movie.
Right. And I,
Um,
and I think at some point you probably have. I would think you would want to explain that. I understand the nods that we give that he's had the dice since he was a young man. But I think you probably need a little bit more than that as to the importance of that.
well, you and I
Uh,
discussed this last weekend when we saw it. It's called retconning, and they are a little overboard with it in this movie. I think with the retconning of the dice. But what they're trying to do, obviously, is tie the dice into the Last Jedi, which
oh,
is to
sure.
create a synergy between movies in the
Oh,
universe, even in different eras.
and I'm a big fan of that, Bill. I'm a big fan of that. I would want them to do that. You
Well,
know,
it's a little much when it wasn't spoken about for 40 years, and then all of a sudden it becomes, the hot item to have
yeah, I
reference.
actually don't hold for me. I don't hold that against it. I just think it was just overplayed a little bit much. I think it's more of like the direction of how they did it. It seemed heavy-handed,
Yeah,
and
a little bit.
I don't know. I think the overall story with him from beginning to end, it fell kind of flat for me. And I think it all probably starts with him. I think if you would have probably had a different lead actor, I don't know. I think that's where it began and ended for me. And there's also, of course, the Darth Maul scene. And for a lot of people who, you had to educate me over the past several days as to the Darth Maul story that he wasn't killed at the end of Phantom Menace. And so for a lot of people who were not aware of the Clone Wars or Rebels or read anything else about that, that was a bit of a surprise of going like, where's this guy coming from? I don't know if that's a problem for the audience. Like that's not Disney's fault that you didn't keep up with the material. I'm not really sure. I like Darth Maul as a character, so the fact that he's still around, I'm willing to open my mind and deal with it. But that is a bit of a shock for most people. Anyway, I don't think
I think
this
the way
worked
it's
for
done
me.
is difficult for people to digest. I think I appreciate the story and the element of surprise that they showed us, the Kira twist at the end when she's like, go Han and go forward and save the, what is it, I can't remember the name of the gas or whatever that they were talking about, but to have Darth Maul suddenly reappear when in universe, as far as films go, he hasn't been seen in 19 years, and the last scene that was seen of him was him tumbling down a chamber or whatever, a pit in which his body was cut in half. I understand people's frustration about it. Quite honestly, I do. I think while I personally appreciate it, I understand that people are confused by it, and I don't know that I would have made the same choice for that character unless they were going to somehow explain in the movie universe how he survived and not rely on people having to go to Wikipedia or read comics or see a cartoon that not that many people who've seen the movie would have seen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's difficult because you want them to be surprised when he appears.
yeah,
That's the
but
whole.
surprise and then like out of left field is very
Yeah.
similar.
Who was that? You have some guy in the back of Kira go like this. Who was that? And she goes, "That's Darth Maul." And, oh, is that the Darth Maul that was able to heal his body and then get cybernetic legs? Yes, that's the one. Oh, he healed his body. Something. I don't know. I think overall, I think for Solo, I feel that this movie hit familiar beats and it didn't really. What's the word? Do something that was kind of like that stuck to my ribs. It did all the things that it was supposed to do and introduce the character, but I think for these type of Star Wars story, I need these things to be, for me, outside of the episodes. If we're going to be doing all these saga films, they should be striving for some sort of Lord of the Rings quality, some sort of epicness to them. I know it's a difficult task, but I think this is a material that deserves that type of attention and what they bring to the table. I don't want this to get into just some sort of just run of the mill. We're just pumping out movies, Bill, and I don't think that's good for their brand. And I'm not really sure where we go after Solo
Well, I can
because I
tell you
want
where
to
we
see
are
more
going.
of the movies in their universe. But I don't know if I just want to sit there and have some sort of like Walmart versions. I need this shit to be Costco brand or something.
Wow.
But anyway, that's where I'm at on it. What's going on the interwebs on this? What's happening with this?
Well, I mean, people, there's a big section, a swath of people who are displeased with the general direction of Star Wars since The Last Jedi. Listen, people were going to come for this movie from Jump Street. Now, it's gone through a lot of permutations. The directors were fired in the middle of the filming. Ron Howard had to take over. We know there were script rewrites. And through all of this, Disney persevered with the release date and said, nope, we're going to make the release date. We're going to keep the release date. We're going to put the movie out when we said we were going to put it out. But the very idea of a Han Solo movie, even if they had somehow time projected Harrison Ford back into his 20s and put him on the screen, was just sacrosanct to a certain section of Star Wars fans, because Han Solo is a character that people have, like Boba Fett. He's locked into what they know of him and they love of him, and they don't want anything other than what has been shown of him ever to be released or ever seen again. Because you'll never match what Harrison did. Harrison will never match what Harrison did in that part. And why fuck with something that's gold? And so even the whole concept of the movie, people were generally against. A lot of people were. So we knew that there was, we've talked about this before, that there was a certain section of people that wanted this movie to fail. People came out on Twitter and said, I want this movie to fail because I don't want them to think that touching these characters is okay for them to do. And fucking with what we know is not okay. Okay, that's one attitude to take. And again, what's going to happen is people are going to make enough fucking crybaby fucking noises and insult. This is exactly why George Lucas sold the company in the first place. Because he said, why would I keep going back and trying to do these movies when all anybody wants to do is bitch about how they suck and how I should have left them alone or given them to somebody else? Well, careful what you wish for, people, because those same fuckers who were wanting George to get rid of the company and sell it to somebody else and let them take over, now they're calling for George Lucas to come back and for Kathleen Kennedy to be fired from Disney, because she's pushing an agenda that these fans, these hardcore people who want it to be a certain way, I was one of them before The Force Awakens, who was having a difficult time accepting a female character in a lead role. Guess what? The quality of the movie that they give me, movies, plural, that they've given me, overruled that instinctual feeling of mine and made me fall in love with where they were going with it. But now those people want to say, well, I don't know why there has to be so many women in Star Wars at the top of the food chain, at the lead roles. I don't know why you would dare to make Luke Skywalker not the 100% hero that I always thought he was going to end up being. How dare you make that happen? This isn't the Star Wars I want to see. How dare you give Leia force powers? She's never had them on display before. This is not the Star Wars I want to see. Okay. What's going to happen is they're going to do the exact same thing that who the fuck would blame them for doing that George did. We've given you what we thought was going to give you the elements and the taste and the feel and the tone of what Star Wars is. As people who've made these movies for 40 years, we gave you what we thought was going to speak to you. You didn't want it. Okay, we're done.
You know, this goes into, once again, you bring the mob into your fucking studio, and then you're surprised when the mob acts all crazy. They're already crazy. I mean, you need them, you want them, but you can't control them. And so what is this really going to mean here? Let's just say, the episode 9, is this going to quell the fires once this makes another $1.5 billion and everybody goes, oh, this is such a great ending to, this trilogy here of J.J. Abrams. Everybody's happy.
I don't know.
Now.
I think
and then when they do the next movie after that, where we'll be back at this position here of going like, what's going on here? What is this?
I think
what's supposed to be after episode 9? Do we know?
Well, we don't know yet.
Okay, so they haven't mapped it out.
But they may have and just haven't told us. that they have it mapped out, or they may not have it mapped out. I don't know.
Right, but
There's
we don't
rumors.
know.
There's rumors of an Obi-Wan standalone, but that's not been confirmed. Now there's rumors of a Darth Maul standalone or a Darth Maul featuring in the Obi-Wan standalone. At this point, I think that, and they've even come out and publicly said, we need to take a hard look at Disney as a company about why this movie did not live up to projections or expectations financially for us. And if that means that they're going to rethink the Rian Johnson trilogy, which after all the fucking backlash that The Last Jedi has gotten, I wouldn't be surprised. Or they're going to rethink the Boba Fett standalone, which I don't necessarily need in my life anyway, so that's okay with me. Clearly, there's a lot likely to be a Han Solo in this era sequel. But, you know, I think right now it's kind of up to JJ to sort of get it back to the place, I think, where people were bullish on Star Wars again with Force Awakens. And if he can take elements from The Last Jedi that people liked, you know, I don't know how you weed out that crazy ass minefield, but versus, you know, things that people really are, in general, were not pleased with, you know, then maybe he can give that general good feeling back to the Star Wars universe. But right now,
I think
they're in a state, the same state that the Warner Brothers DC universe is in. The Star Wars people are not having this Han Solo movie. For whatever reason, I don't think it's fair. I don't think the movie deserves this kind of hatred and bitterness that's going on. I really don't. But is it happening? It is. And I can't deny that.
so. You know, I think a few things here. As I'm listening to you, I think with all things, you have expectations, and having like a Rogue One movie, you have a whole bunch of new characters to a degree, without me having watching Rebels or Clone Wars. That people
No,
are
they're new. They were never in the Star Wars universe. Anybody in Rogue One except for
okay, that people are unfamiliar with, so they don't necessarily have expectations. They know that somebody stole the Death Star plans. They don't know all the inner workings of who, how, and who did it. So you're able to give people, you know, a story that they're more willing to accept and deal with, because you don't really have an expectation, because you don't know. You don't know how it went down. When you have a character like Han Solo, it's like with anything, you have expectations because you've seen several movies with Harrison Ford in them as Han Solo. And you're fighting against people's, you know, basis of what it should be or how it should go and what should be done. And you know, those things are always, I find, difficult hurdles. You know, like if you told me we're going to be doing a superhero character, like what's Spielberg doing? He's doing the
I forget.
Red Baron or whatever else. I don't know 2 cents about what these characters are supposed to be doing or what they're supposed to be about. He can have them do all sorts of things. You know, they could sit there and put their finger in their ear, put it in their mouth, and go, "That's how I tell the weather." I don't really care. But if you tell me you're going to be doing a Batman movie, and then all of a sudden Batman is like doing like Gina Stairs singing in the rain, I'm going to sit there and be like, "That's not Batman, though." And you're going to be like, "Well, it's a different Batman." I'm like, I've read all the Batman books. I've seen all the movies. Batman doesn't do singing in the rain. You know, I have expectations. You're fighting people's beliefs at that point. Or you're trying to get them on board on something that they already know what it sort of should be. And it's difficult. And you're taking Han Solo, one of the most beloved characters, and the people already are looking at you with a side eye going, "I don't know how you're going to do this, because he's supposed to be a certain way. I know this character better than you do, blah, 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 blah." And it's difficult. Now, it seems like with Obi-Wan, people are open to Obi-Wan because they like Ewan McGregor's role as Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily true. Don't forget that the prequels are in general considered to be persona non grata if you wanted to take.
Well, absolutely. I understand
So-
that. But I feel like certain things might be more palatable than others. And Han Solo might be one of those, like, what do you call it? Like pillar characters. Like, why the fuck are you fucking around with him? You know,
Right.
I think it's difficult, because if they came out with another movie that said, "This is how, you know, we built a Death Star," and all of a sudden that's more of a hit than Solo, I could sit there and argue, well, the people don't know anything about how the Death Star was built, so of course they're willing to go to the Star Wars story and enjoy it with an open mind. You're not necessarily going into Solo with an open mind.
So you know what? That's fine if you want to say
I'm
that.
not giving an
Then
excuse, Bill. I'm just saying it's
I
a
know, but
different
I'm just saying if
path.
you want to say then the idea is that they just can't touch previously established characters or put them, show an era of those characters' lives that have yet to be explored if they were younger or whatever. I mean, the same thing happened
I'm not
when
saying
you.
that though. I'm
No, but
not
I'm
saying
saying that people. I'm saying if this is an idea that people want to float, or the idea that having looked at Rogue One's numbers and looking at Han Solo's numbers, I can see why a studio head would say, well, the pattern here seems to be that we should stay away from previously established or younger versions of characters because that never seems to bring in the big money for us. Okay, as a fan of the universe and the characters that have been in the universe, young, old, prequel, original, whatever, that disappoints me because I want to see a young Obi-Wan movie. I want to see Ewan McGregor return to that role. I think he was fantastic in that part. I want to see Alden Ehrenreich play young Han Solo again because I think while at points in the beginning of the movie he didn't quite capture it, I think again, like with Henry Cavill for me, once you establish that he gets the beats of that character down and the beginnings and the origins and all of that exposition that has to be done to establish that, then he can run with the part. I would like to see him be able to get a chance to do that. I don't think it's going to happen, so that saddens me. But and as a Star Wars fan, I wish we were going to get these stories.
do you
I want to
do,
see them all, but
do you think that um I don't know, John and Jane six pack versus the other Star Wars people who are reading all the side stories from Variety and Hollywood Reporter, we're seeing some of the troubles that they were having on set. Does that play into it in terms of like
yes, I mean I
in
think
terms of, well, you had this direction, you don't have it, then you have to bring in Ron Howard. We're still trying to meet this deadline, so he's got to go back and kind of film some of these things. Does it play into their going like, okay, then maybe you should just stop the Solo movie and just push back the date,
yeah, I mean I think all of it
instead of
plays into it.
May, make it open up in November. Then do it right.
Again, I think these are all perception issues, and that's a legitimate thing. Um, but I think as far as it's a perfect storm, it's a perfect shitstorm. What happened here in this situation with Han Solo, and this is the same perfect shitstorm that happened with Justice League for me, because you have people get a certain idea of what is happening as far as behind the scenes stuff goes, and when there's too many chefs in the kitchen, people start to feel like it's just going to be some kind of Frankensteinian thing that doesn't really have a legitimate place in the universe. And I think all of that stuff plays into the fact that people get a bad taste in their mouth for the property, and then once you get behind that eight ball, I don't really think there's a way out. I think that maybe pushing the movie back 6 months would have been not detrimental to them. I think it probably would have only benefited them, but I don't know how much it would have benefited them. I don't know. I think, I think one of the easiest things they can do, and they probably will do if I'm going to throw out predictions for a second, is I think they are going to switch back to a once a year pattern, which I don't think is a bad idea, instead of trying to get more than one Star Wars movie in a year. And I think they're going to switch back to a December release frame. And I think that's also going to not hurt them, because people have become used to seeing Star Wars, Disney era Star Wars in December. That's two pretty simple, easy fixes for whatever's ailing them at the moment. It doesn't involve people getting fired or losing their jobs or never getting a chance to write another script or anything like that. That, again, some of the people are outcrying about, which I just want to fucking turn off my Twitter and not look at my phone for days after reading stuff like that because it drives me crazy. But, short of that, I think I hope that JJ is able to wrap up the trilogy featuring Ray and Finn and Poe in a satisfactory way that people get back on board with it so that perhaps in the future, I mean, we already have the Ryan Johnson trilogy. I mean, I hope, that faith or whatever that people need to have in Star Wars is brought back on point.
I hate to say this question here because I listen to sports podcasts and sports comment banter shows, and with Kathleen Kennedy, I mean, she's just one hit away from having Episode 9 make another $1.5 billion and be the toast of the town. Is she on borrowed time with another film that doesn't necessarily meet expectations?
I mean, it's the same thing as asking if Kevin Tujahara from Warner Brothers was, about ready to get booted out because of the financial disappointment of Justice League. I hope not, because as we've discussed before, the era of Disney Star Wars has been pleasing to me beyond my expectations as a whole. I did not think it was possible for them to give me Star Wars that I fell in love with again on this level, and yet here we are. And again, though I don't think Han Solo is the best of the Disney era movies, I don't think it's not deserving of having been made, or people have accused it of not being necessary to have happened in the first place. I think that's all nonsense. I think the very fact that it says a Star Wars story lets you know that if you're not that into it, don't come. It's not a saga movie, and it's not trying to be one. And so its very nature is less necessary to the fabric of the universe. But I still think I want Kathleen Kennedy to stay in charge of whatever direction she chooses to take this universe in. I want to go. I mean, The Force Awakens is amazing. The Last Jedi is amazing. Rogue One is amazing. And Han Solo, for me, is amazing.
All right, Bill, we'll see. We'll see with this. I mean, we're going to get to box office mojo here, and I'm kind of looking at the top 5 movies so far up till June. Domestically, you have Black Panther, Avengers: Infinity War, Deadpool 2 at 254 million, and then you have A Quiet Place at 183 million, and then you have Solo at 148 million. What were their expectations? Do we know?
I'm going to say higher than 148 million, and I don't know where from there. I think this percentage I read for the drop off for second weekend for Han Solo was 66%. I mean,
I saw that.
I don't think that's not really out of the realm of reason. I mean, I've seen bigger movies with bigger drops over the second weekend than that. I think the fact that it's just not making that much money in general is an issue. And they have to probably consider that when moving forward over at Lucasfilm. I mean, the thing about it is, in the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I or anyone else think of the quality of the movie. If the asses aren't going to be in the seats, the asses aren't going to be in the seats, and they're not going to make another one.
It becomes a numbers game.
Right. They're not making movies to please me and 5 other Star Wars fans. And if they, that's not why Disney paid George Lucas $4 billion for that company. And so the end of the day is that they have to succeed on a level that justifies them continuing to pump out these movies. So if they don't, then I understand that things are probably going to go in a different direction. It's unfortunate for me because I do enjoy what they've done. I also understand the reality is they have to make it successful.
Okay, there we are. Bill gives it a thumbs up. It was a joyride for him. He enjoyed it. I give it a thumbs down. Alden is all not.
All done.
Something I was trying
Alden
to make
is all done.
Yeah, that's why.
That's low-hanging fruit.
Don't quit my day job.
Yeah.
So here we go. Let's go, Bill. Let's wrap this up here. Let's go with box office mojo. How you feel about that?
Okay. I think we've run over. This is probably the longest show we've had in a while.
Yeah, that's fine. What do we care, right?
Sure.
We make
Missing
the
on
rules.
her
Just,
4-hour
just
flight from, Egypt or wherever it is they're off to next.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
She'll enjoy it.
I think Melissa's in Latvia. Latvia.
Latvia. Is that where Dr. Doom is from? No, that's Latveria.
That's so funny. Melissa, can you pick us an autograph up for Doctor Doom, Victor? Just have him make it out to the Popular Cinema Podcast as he listens to us all the time. I
Yeah.
am Doom. I am Doom. All right, Bill. For the weekend ending June 1 to June 3rd, we're in June already. What do you think? I mean,
I think
shit.
it's summertime and I'm just about ready to be done with work. So that's what I think.
That's very exciting. It's very exciting. Well, the number one movie we were just talking about, Solo, a Star Wars story. This weekend gross was $29 million.
It is what it is.
I guess $29 million seems a lot, but when you're Star Wars, it apparently is not.
It is not.
The number two movie is Deadpool 2, out in its third week of release, brings in 23 million, awfully very close to Solo, bringing its total to 254 million domestically. It's made about $344 million overseas bills for a total of 600 million. You think we'll be getting a Deadpool 3?
Actually, I heard Ryan Reynolds say in an article that he doesn't know that he wants to do a Deadpool 3. I think they're doing a spin-off and they're going to make him part of a team movie, X-Force.
Is he still going to be the leader of that X-Force team?
I imagine so if, they want to
So
make
I guess
more
it's
money,
really just Deadpool 3, but he's got extra people with him then.
right.
Okay. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, it's like Captain America Civil War, only it's
I
actually
guess
Avengers.
you don't want to wear out your welcome then, huh? Yeah, more friends, the better. Kind of.
Hey, listen, I haven't seen Deadpool 2. I'm not going to trash it because I haven't seen it, but apparently obviously there's a reason why I haven't seen it since I see all of these movies and I'm not in any hurry to get there.
Okay.
So
The number three movie is Adrift. Cost
is that
$35 to make.
It's like the open water. Is that like what this is?
Yeah, it's with what's it, Shailene Woodley
Oh yeah, she was supposed to be
starving herself. They're adrift for like 40 days, so they don't eat anything on set, and they're trying to recreate those conditions of not eating food.
Really?
I'm just not a fan of her, just generally speaking. So,
Why would you call her? Is she one of those plain dishwater types?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And when they put, what, the fact is they overcast her in those Divergent movies.
Right.
Unlike what's her name? Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
She can sell the Hunger Games to me as being somebody that could actually shoot a bow and kick some ass. She has the acting chops for that. Woodley doesn't look like she can fight her way out of a paper bag. And so to put her in a role to where I'm supposed to believe that she can do something, she looks like she may just like trip over her own 2 feet trying to run.
Wow.
There's just nothing about her athletically, physically I buy whatsoever. And I don't, ever since they cast her in that, I was just like, I just can't stand her in general. She can act, but not well enough to convince me that she's some sort of athlete. That's my 2 cents. It's a lot of hate I'm giving to Miss Woodley. Sorry. The number 4 movie, the Russo brothers, once again making it happen. Did you get that article I sent you?
About?
I don't know. It was kissing the Russo's ass about showing you the difference and how they do their superhero movies.
Yes, I disagree with like Luke said, or Mark Hamill said in an interview about The Last Jedi. I fundamentally disagree with just about every word in that article, but that's a tale for another day.
Wow. I find that that's just hate on the Russo brothers. They're doing it right.
I don't say that the Russo brothers aren't doing it right. I do say they're not the only people doing it right.
I tell you what, if you want DC to be successful, why don't they hire the Russo brothers and pay them whatever the fuck they want? How about there? How about you start there?
Maybe they will. We don't know what's going on behind it.
Okay, well, maybe that would be a good start. Because whatever they're doing now over there, hiring like
James Wan, that's a bad move.
Wait, what's that?
Hiring James Wan, that was a bad move?
Well, we don't know that yet.
No, we don't.
We don't. I'm not going to speak on that one. We don't know that yet. But
Patty
whatever they're
Jenkins,
doing
you
over
know.
there on Shazam, I don't know, Bill. I don't know. We're walking on landmines yet again. All right. Number 4, Avengers: Infinity War. They pulled in another 10 million, bringing their total domestic gross to 642 million. They're up to 1.9 billion dollars. It looks
That's
like they're
great.
about 36 million away from 2 billion.
That's great. For once, I can truly say I believe they deserve every penny.
Okay. The number 5 movie is these harpies in the book club: Jane Fonda, Alicia Silverstone, Mary Steenburgen, and Diane
Why do you
Keaton.
call them harpies? Just because they're women of a certain age? Is that why they're harpies?
What is that? Is Alicia Silverstone part of this group now? Huh?
I mean,
She's
I thought they were all like grandmas. Is Alicia Silverstone a grandma?
no. I think she might be playing a daughter in it, but I guess she's a big name, so they put hers up at the top closer. It
Okay.
pulled in six 6 million, so it's got a total gross of 47 million.
That seems kind of high for a movie featuring a bunch of octogenarian
Yeah,
actresses.
over 3 weeks. That's not too bad, huh?
No, I don't think so. It must be. I mean, I don't know. Is it based on a book? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
The number 6 movie, it didn't make it. The only reason why I'm going here in its opening weekend is a movie called Upgrade. It's a Bloomhouse special.
Right.
Pulled in about $5 million. Have you seen the trailer for this?
I have.
What did you think of it?
I think it looks interesting. I mean, for a Bloomhouse Schlockfest.
Yeah, I thought so too. Um, Not enough
Um,
to make me to go to the theater, Bill, but
well,
certainly.
no. I mean, unless there's some kind of miracle happening, that's not likely.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But it looks interesting to me. It'll be certainly one of those like I'd be happy to rent it on a Friday night.
I've heard
Absolutely.
really great things about it. This begs me to wonder then, are we just shitting on Spawn because, we don't have enough faith in Jason Blum to make his shit shine into Shinola? Because everything he touches seems to turn to gold. He's like the Kevin Feige of the low rent set. Um, so maybe he
Well,
doesn't
the
need to
reason
talk that
why
about.
I believe I would be shitting on Spawn is because of Todd McFarlane, and I'm not sure the direction.
But you
It's
don't
not so
think that
much I.
Jason Blum is like going, I've got my shit on lock. All of the shit that we turn out turns a profit. Sometimes 2 and 3 times its budget, more than that even. I mean, look at it's number 2 is the um, movie with John Krasinski this year. I mean, this is after Get Out last year was a smashing walkaway success. I mean, everything they basically do makes a profit.
Okay, but I hear things like a Quiet Place is that the story is fascinating, Bill. I mean, you've made a story that's like for 10 million, but it's sort of like The Matrix. You tell a very good story and you meld some sort of special effects to it, and the people love it.
Sure, but we
I
don't
don't know if
trust
it's just the
Jason.
fact that they're spending $10 million in the movie that somehow like there's got to be some other talent behind there for them.
Yeah, like I'm saying though, Jason is like the Kevin
I I
Feige of the cheap horror set.
I mean, when you get Elm Knight in there, who was the critics' darling at some point and has made blockbuster films, to make a film for you for like $10 million, I think that's a pretty good get. You
Oh,
know,
sure. I mean, I think getting Jamie Foxx for a movie
it's
that
not like
costs.
you're hiring Uwe Boll to come in and say we'll give you $5 million to make a movie. They seem to be having a plan of where they're trying to do something. It's like old school, like back in the '80s almost. We're making these direct to video movies, but they're maybe director driven character story, something that you couldn't do.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is that shouldn't we then give him, based on his successful track record, the benefit of the doubt in the Spawn situation, even though everything out of Todd McFarlane's mouth makes it sound worse and worse.
Listen, Bill, I want to give benefit of the doubt here, but what you're dealing here is you're dealing with quote superhero slash anti-hero. Okay, I
Okay.
don't know if I want to see a Superman movie where there's no Superman in it. Okay, like that's you've already
Maybe
you're
Jason
pushing
Blum
the
can change
envelope.
your mind on that, is all I'm saying. All I'm saying
Well,
is maybe he can.
I got you. I think I want to give that studio the room to maneuver, but I don't get excited for the idea that you're giving me necessarily a Spawn that I don't see. That doesn't. sound interesting to me. It's almost like having a Venom movie where I don't get to see Venom.
Sure, but would you have thought that a movie in which I believe there's something like an hour and 10 minutes with no dialogue would have been something that people would flock to? Maybe not,
Well, Bill,
but
that would
maybe.
be right up my alley. That's a creative story. I don't have any expectations on that. I'm
Okay.
always telling you I'm looking for a new horror film that does something that's outside of the standard, scares of somebody like popping around a corner in a trailer. That's just weak. We've seen this a million times now. You're going to give me another Friday the 13th and expect me to be surprised? I need a different take and a different story. You can't keep telling me the same ghost story. That's why I feel like A Quiet Place is, some of these things are successful because the people, why Netflix is pulling material from all over the place worldwide because they're looking for different stories and different takes on expectations. That's why we have a gangsters from Africa story on Netflix is because people want to see how it works over there. We've seen the Italians do it a million times. Maybe there's a different take with the Russians on how they do it. People want more. We want more. They're very experienced moviegoers now. And sometimes they want the basic shit. They want the meat and potatoes, but now and then they need something more to bring them out of their cave. And I think for Spawn, superheroes are different, Bill. I think it's a different genre. You can't tell me you're going to be making a movie called Spawn and not give me Spawn in it. I think that's call it something else then. Call it like the mysterious guy in a cape or whatever else. But if you're going to put a superhero, anti-hero's name on it, I think we're expecting to get that character, Bill, and you expect to see him. And if you don't get him, I feel a certain way about it.
I hear you. I have zero expectations for this movie, but
I
then
mean,
again,
if we're going to call the movie Spider-Man, and we're going to do Bloomhouse Spider-Man. And I told you in this character that we're going to be really following Peter Parker around. And when Spider-Man comes out, you're really not necessarily going to see him because he operates from the shadows. You'll just see a web shoot out and grab somebody, and then they get strung up onto a light. And then the next scene, you'll see Peter Parker walking out from the alley from the side. Is that really going to work for you?
no, but again, I'm not
It's
a fan
character
of this.
driven, though. It's character driven.
I'm not
Like
right. I'm not a fan of this low budget horror thing that Jason has built his entire studio on either. So it's not really designed to appeal to me, I think. I think they'll
sometimes you're telling me like you've got to spend the money. If you're going to be doing a Justice League movie, don't tell me you're coming to me and we're spending $10 million on it. I'm like, what is Superman doing? Walking? Is that what he's doing? Okay, like if you're going to be delving into this thing here, unless your hero's powers are like Jessica Jones, where you can walk around and maybe like have her push a car, you can operate on a low budget. Spawn is not a low budget character in and of itself.
well,
You know,
Spawn 1 was pretty low budget as far as movies go, but that was the infancy of superhero
well,
movies
yeah,
in
but
the
his
modern
cape was
era.
going around. He's transforming. Chains are shooting out. He
Yeah, they
answers
did
to a
all that
giant
shit on
devil
an
in
Atari
hell.
2600, Jay.
What's that?
They did all that shit on an Atari 2600. Okay. I mean, and when you go back and look at it, I don't know how long it's been since you've seen Spawn. It looks like they did it on an Atari 2600.
Oh, you're.
Don't say I'm a hater. I have the movie in my collection. I've watched it several times. I do enjoy it on a level, but I can also tell you it really doesn't hold up effects wise in 2018.
Spawn costs $40 million. That
The
was the
original?
budget for. That was the original budget. $40 million.
That seems like a lot. Just saying. I don't think they were writing the check for that amount to Michael Jai White. That's all I'm asking.
And what's sad about this is when I go to Box Office Mojo and they list the actors, they don't even list Michael Jai White. They just
No,
just have John Leguizamo.
you know,
That's just so disrespectful. Okay, they don't even have the lead actor for the lead character listed on the site.
really? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm looking at Box Office Mojo. They're giving me the production budget of 40 million and it grossed $87 million worldwide in 1997. So you're telling me we're actually saying you say that those graphics are Atari fucking
2600.
2600 graphics, and now we're doing Bloomhouse, which they're putting out what 15 million, 10, 15 million.
Mhm.
I think we're exactly right where we need to be with our expectations, Bill.
I'm not gonna. I
I
don't
think the hate that we're
disagree.
giving and the trepidation that we're giving, I think we're on point, Bill. And I'm a Blue House fan. Okay, we're on point.
I'm just saying. I mean, you might try being a little bit more loyal to your peoples if you want them to, continue to succeed with their stretching of the expectations that people have for their movie.
Sometimes you need a swift kick in the ass to bring you back to reality. Like, what were we thinking when Todd McFarlane came in here and was pitching the Spawn movie where he operates from the shadows? Sometimes you're getting a little bit too high and you're sniffing your own shit. I don't know.
Okay, we've got to go. It's been over 3 hours.
All right.
No one's going to listen this far.
Actually, it hasn't been 3 hours because we started a little bit late, but we have run longer than 2 hours, and
And a half.
we probably lost people long ago with our whole Marvel DC discussion again. You know that
Hey,
it lost.
if you're not down with us, we can't help that. We got to be us.
Okay, Bill, it was a good time here. We didn't seem to have any studio difficulties. I hope the
No,
sound sounds right.
I think the rebooting worked.
Even though it took 10 minutes to reboot it.
That's okay.
What
So, are
watching
you going?
tonight?
What am I watching tonight? Oh, I'm going to watch The Incredibles because I got to get ready for Incredibles 2.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I'm going to be
and-
joining at Chipotle probably around 7:38 and getting ready for Westworld and relaxing tonight. Very excited.
Is your company not? Oh, they went out, huh? They went to hang out somewhere.
Yeah, I think they probably left around 4:30. I think after they left down here when the a cappella group, they went back upstairs. I heard them laughing for about 5 minutes and then the
Okay.
pitter patter of feet leaving.
That's it, huh? You don't even get a kiss goodbye. She's just like, deuces. I'll see you when I get home.
I sat there and thought about it. I'm like, I didn't even get a goodbye. Like, hey, babe, we're leaving. I didn't even get any of that.
Eh,
So
this is what happens when you live with somebody. These things just become old hat, normal, run of the mill, daily life with pain.
you knew what I was doing. I didn't need to come down there and say goodbye. Did you need me to come down there and say goodbye? No, I didn't need you to say goodbye. It's fine. Do how you feel.
Right.
Okay, Bill, it was
right.
fun. What we'll talk about later during the week is I saw Red Sparrow with Jennifer Lawrence as
Okay.
well as Annihilation. We'll discuss that off the air.
We didn't get to our movie list of trilogies. We'll have to do that next time.
Well, yeah, it'll be next week. It'll give you some time to prepare for it a little bit, collect your thoughts on it. I was looking forward to it. Maybe we'll just start off with trilogies on our next show.
Okay.
The best trilogies out there for you. All right. Anyway, Bill, it's a pleasure. Episode 67. I've been your co-host, Payne.
I'm Bill.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Oh, I'm playing the music, but I didn't turn up the volume.
Thank you. Thank you.